Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 317, Fast and Furious 6, Lap 13. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Metropolitan Fashion Week. Metropolitan Fashion Week is one of the fastest growing fashion weeks in the United States, and with shows in Seattle, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and Palm Springs. To get information on their upcoming October 5th Los Angeles Fashion Week show, go to runwayfx.com.
Shout out to Metropolitan Fashion Week, and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. With us today to talk about Fast and Furious 6, a writer for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Chrissy Shackelford. Hello, Chrissy. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm amazing.
Cool.
Do guests ever say how good they are?
I would like to. Are you going to scale it? Do we get a number system?
It just feels like anytime I listen to a podcast or am on a podcast, everyone's like, oh, I'm fine. And how are you? But I think it's so interesting to come on and be like, I'm amazing. I'm the best I've ever been.
I've never had a better day than today.
I'm at the top of the world.
I had like a day like a couple months ago that I hit this like ridiculous sports betting bet, and I like texted Joey beforehand. I was like, I need like 10 minutes just to decompress because this is the best day. This is the best day ever. It was like insane. But other than that,
which sport were you betting on?
It was soccer a while ago, and it was like 100-1 odds, and it hit like in the last extra time. Yeah, and I was like, Joey, I'm just telling you, this is actually the best day ever. So just give me a minute. But yeah, so I can relate.
Congrats.
It was awesome. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling today?
I'm 100-1.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm 100-1. I don't. How are y'all? What's going on? Is this the best?
We're also 100-1. This is great. We're doing killer today.
We are. We really are.
And you're in your like boats, airplanes, and planes lap. Is that correct?
Yes. Planes, trains,
great.
but no automobiles. So actually, that you transitioned so beautifully. We're gonna skip another thing. We're gonna do another question, a later question earlier, because we have spent so many times, so many episodes, so many laps talking about cars that this time we're talking about things that aren't cars. And there are so many non-cars in this movie, which we'll get to. But
lots. We
each have conversation kickoff questions about this. Before we get into your history with these movies, I want to know, do you have a favorite movie that has a non-car at the heart of it? Like either like a chase scene or a cool vehicle action or something, or just like a movie that you like that's on a boat, anything like that.
Yeah. Ooh, well, just the first thing that popped in my head when you said a movie that I like that's on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
Have either of y'all seen that movie with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon called Out to Sea?
No, but someone else just brought this up to me this weekend, and I don't remember why, but it's a weird time. Why do you love Out to Sea?
It's just the first movie that came to my head when you said a movie on a boat, which is very random. So obviously Walter Matthau, Jack Lemmon, they're the grumpy old men. And this movie is, it's one of those movies that's made to be played in a retirement home or only on TNT. Like this is them later in life.
Nice.
They're much older, and they sort of sneak their way onto a cruise. They're old men by saying that they are, what do they call them? Like dance assistants, like sort of what Johnny does in Dirty Dancing, where like his job is just like dance with the people at the club.
Okay.
Yeah. They say they're that to get on this cruise for free. And then it's just, sort of hijinks of them like whining and dining these older women that they dance with every night at cruise dinner. It's really fun.
That sounds really fun. I do like that.
Their job is dance, just like Ken's is beach.
Exactly.
They're allowed on the boat because our job is dance. That's a good answer. I also, when I looked it up again, I was like, 1997, about 30 years after I thought this movie was going to come out when you named those lead actors. But, here we are.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Very exciting, though.
Because it's the best day ever. What was your favorite interesting vehicle, non-car, that you've ever driven or ridden in?
Yeah, I mean, I currently live in Austin and grew up in Dallas.
Okay.
But I used to come to Austin to visit when I was a child. I know they have these in Austin. They probably have them in other cities. I went on a duck boat tour. Are you familiar with those?
Those are
I don't
awesome.
think I particularly liked it as a kid. I remember getting really sick. It
Where's
is
the
probably
water
the
in
strangest vehicle.
There's a bunch of water in Austin. There's a
There's-
Colorado
Really?
River.
Yeah.
Ah.
There's Lake Travis.
Yeah, there's Lake Travis, which is a big lake that's like sort of on the outskirts of town. But then there's Town Lake that runs in the middle of the city, which I guess now is called Ladybird Lake, but no one will ever call it that.
No, definitely not.
Named after Hank Hill's dog.
Yes, exactly. And only Hank Hill's dog. I just remember those vehicles from a kid because they give you the duck sound. They give you this little like collar
A quacker?
thing that you can
Like
a
Duck
quacker.
Dynasty?
Yes.
Like Duck Dynasty,
Sure.
like those guys.
I have to tell you that's not a reference point for me, but sure.
That
Yes.
was like their whole. That was their whole reality TV show was that those guys were making the duck calls, and then they made
That
a
was
reality.
the whole reality show?
The show. I mean, it was about them, and they're just like guys that made duck calls. That's why it was called Duck Dynasty, and they just like
They weren't hunters?
I mean, they were, but they owned the business of like the best duck caller things you can buy.
Wow.
Wait,
okay, that's interesting. I would watch
you
a
didn't
show
know
about
this?
that.
No,
I thought they
no.
were just sort of like country hunters.
Yeah, me too.
No. They make the duck call, and like in the early like seasons, you'll sit them. They like sit around a table, and they make the duck calls, and you can like buy the old man assembled duck call for like.
That's wild.
Yeah, and they still sell them. And you know the other half of that story, Joey, the main like the dad, the patriarch, was the starting quarterback over Terry Bradshaw and retired to go and quit college football to go hunting.
No.
So Terry Bradshaw always says that like the dad of Duck Dynasty was the better quarterback than him. He was riding the bench behind this guy and only got his shot when Phil Robertson or whatever left to go hunt. It left college. He just was like, "No, I'm done. I had a kid. I'm out."
I don't know if that's more or less interesting than the show Duck Dynasty I had in my head, but it's just wildly different.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's just like a stupid reality TV show. But yes, Doug calling is what they did. Yep.
I think Terry Bradshaw, aside from being a football player's biggest claim to fame is, have you seen the film Failure to Launch?
With Matthew McConaughey? I have not, but I know about it.
No, I haven't seen
He
it
plays Matthew McConaughey's dad, and there is a scene where Terry Bradshaw is just naked for like 3 minutes. You
Frontal?
just see Terry Bradshaw's
just butts.
Well,
or
no,
front butts.
he's like naked, but they never show the front part. Like he'll turn and that'll be covered, but his butt is like fully out there for
That's
like 3
awesome.
minutes straight.
Good for him.
It's really brave. I
Yeah.
was blown away blown away by his butt when I saw it.
Maybe we can find him on Mr. Cheeks or something, Joey.
We don't have a subscription to Mr. Cheeks. The internet, well, to go in line with our conversation from our episode name from a few weeks ago, the Internet Movie Cheeks database, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Just butts.
I remember like years ago, I don't remember what the name of it is, and I'm not going to Google it for multiple reasons, but there was a male equivalent of Mr. Skin, but like just all dudes of like male nudity in movies.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah. They should combine them. Why are we segregating? Just let it all just go in one place. I don't get it.
It wasn't
Never
Mrs.
mind.
Skin either. Like it was something different, like Mr. Man, or I don't remember. It was like, I'm like, that's not a good name, but it didn't stick. You know what I mean? Not that Mr. Whatever. Anyway, Chrissy.
Sorry.
Back on topic here.
Yes.
What is your history with the Fast and Furious movies? What was the first one you saw? How many times have you seen them? Does this one hold any particular weight, special place in your heart? Hit us with whatever your history is with these movies.
So my history with this franchise is whatever year the 7th one came out. Was that 2015? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I had just moved to New York. I was like very underemployed, just like working a lot of gig jobs. And I was like, in the comedy scene. And I had never seen a single Fast and Furious movie. And there were so many ads for Furious 7 coming out.
Okay.
That me and another friend who was also, dangerously underemployed were like, hey, what if we do something really stupid? And we had both never seen them. So we said, every day this week leading up to when Furious 7 comes out on Friday.
Love it.
We will watch one movie and do a podcast about which we did record a podcast. I scrubbed it from the internet because it was back in the day when like no one sort of knew what they were doing with podcasts. Or at least I didn't. Yeah. But we watched a different Fast and Furious movie a day for a week and podcast about it right afterwards and then watched watch Furious 7 in the theaters, and I've been a diehard fan ever since.
So this one a day for a week worked. You were hooked.
Absolutely. I loved the first one. And then I really thought by like number 3 on the watch, I was like, these are getting really rough for me. And then obviously they got me back with 5, and then 6, as we'll explore today, I think is like just the quintessential Fast and Furious movie.
Ooh, okay.
And 7 was obviously very emotional in the theater. And since then I've rewatched them, all the movies, several times. I usually try to rewatch them before a new movie comes out. I'm there opening night of the new films. I'm very invested in these characters.
Do you still go with your same friend? Is your same friend still into them as much as you are? Did we lose
still into them? Not as much. We lost him a little bit, but we also don't live in the same city anymore, so we can't really go.
Thought
together,
maybe you'd just like FaceTime in the theater, like you would schedule like a very similar
really
show
beautiful.
time.
No, Your Honor, I was not filming the screen. I was filming my own face because I was FaceTiming.
I was FaceTiming a very important friend.
I will say, on the topic of Austin, when I first saw Fury 7 was at South by, and they had a world premiere, or maybe it was like the outside of LA world premiere, so it was like the 3rd screening ever, but it was at the South Lamar Draft House. And I was just like there, and so I saw it there, and Tyrese was there, and James Wan was there, and someone else, a producer who I don't remember. Like, I didn't know the movies as well then as I do now, but yeah, on that... No, it wasn't. I got the ticket to South Lamar, but it was at the Paramount Theater.
Oh, yeah. I used to work there. Beautiful theater.
That's really beautiful theater. So they show... I mean, so just know that Tyrese was in that room that you were in
huge.
Many times, right?
I would die if I were in the room with Tyrese. And at this time, I got really into Vin Diesel's acting and his history. And I find his story to be really moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And inspiring. And I think I'll never leave the franchise because I find him to just be so fascinating as an artist and creator and someone who loves art. Loves art.
And if you've dug into Vin Diesel, then you know that like people like to poo-poo Vin Diesel, especially in the Fast and the Furious. But if you've watched some of his other movies, you're like, oh no, he could have been like a very like established like actor. You know what I mean? Like he's not just
Chrissy,
like.
Have you seen the Fast and Furious short film that he has directed, Los Bandoleros?
I haven't because I'm kind of afraid to.
No,
it's
no,
good.
No.
It's good.
It's good.
It's the best Letty's ever been. It's only 20 minutes long.
Okay.
And there's a short film between 1 and 2 called The Turbocharged Prelude with just Brian. There's no dialogue. It's just him driving. It's bad. That's objectively bad. But Los Bandoleros is really good. And you're like, oh, he has talent. I don't know why. Like it's honestly so good that it was surprising to us when Justin Lin left Fast 10 that like Vin didn't just direct the movie himself. Because like all the reports are like, he basically shadow directs these movies anyway. Like he has such control over everything that we're like, oh, he's already done it. He might as well. But like, go with full confidence.
It kind of feels like an interlude in like a music video. You know what I mean? Like when like the music stops and you get that like this is how they like got in between these things. But it's like 20 minutes of that of like him and Letty and
Han's in it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
It's cool. It really is. You'd be like, I'm actually impressed. Our friends that were on a lap here with us that had never seen anything, they were like, that is our favorite Fast and the Furious like piece. Like they love Los Bandoleros that much. Yeah.
Okay. I gotta watch it. I'll watch it. Just to, give my credits with loving Fast and Furious. I also had a Vin Diesel cardboard cutout at my wedding.
What?
It is how much I really respect him. No, that one I saw. We had cardboard cutouts of Vin Diesel and then myself and my husband.
But just the 3 of you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is my kind of fun. Honestly.
And our like getaway, at the end of a wedding, you like do the exit or whatever. We walked out. We did a paparazzi exit where we made everyone like take pictures, like look at us, and we were like, no. And we walked out with the Vin Diesel cutout. So he's a really big part of our life.
That's clearly awesome. That is really awesome.
With all of that said, do you have rankings of the Fast and Furious movies from favorite to least favorite? Please hit us, either go top down or bottom up, whichever way you want to create more suspense.
Okay. I think I'll go I think I'll go top down.
Okay.
So at my top is number 1. I just
Yeah.
think that's where it started. You know, I was talking about it with my husband earlier today. He was like, wait, number 6 isn't your favorite? And I was like, no, because the number 1, that's everything. Like that, everything that sets the table for everything. What they're always trying to get back to at the end of every Fast movie is the barbecue.
Yeah.
And that's in that first one. 6 is my second.
Okay.
Then 5.
Good choice.
Then 7.
Okay.
Then X.
Ooh, okay.
X.
8.
Fate.
Then
yeah.
2. Then 2.
2 doesn't get a lot of love.
You know what? 2 doesn't get a lot of love, and you know, objectively, maybe it's a bad movie, but I remember so much of it, and when I go back to do rewatches, I always have a fun time watching it.
It's so
like
much
a very
fun.
like mid-2000s movie.
It is.
Okay, after 2 is 9.
Okay.
I don't much care for 9. Then 4.
I think I see what's happening here.
And then 3 is my least favorite. And I know I have listened to not all of the episodes of your podcast. You have quite a hefty back catalog, but I've listened to some, and I know 3 is very beloved.
It's split. No, it's a love or hate. It's usually like
people.
it's usually very split.
Han is one of my favorite characters, as he is everyone's favorite characters. And the driving is really good in 3. I cannot stand Lucas Black at all. His acting is awful. And that is why 9 is also pretty low for me, because there's way too much of him. And Lil Bow Wow,
there's not even very much.
Act.
There's not very much of him.
And there's too much of him in 9.
Too much of him?
There's too much of him in 9. Oh, Code Me My Guys will make you a rocket or a astronaut space car. And then it's them. I was not happy with that whatsoever.
You did not rank Hobbs and Shaw. Do you hate that, or do you not consider it? Because there's a real, like, you're not alone in that either. There's a lot of people just like, I don't consider it.
I hate that, and I don't consider it, and I am very well. Here's why: is when it comes to The Rock versus Vin, I'm Vin all the way, and I think
the Rock cut out. Makes sense.
The Rock is an opportunist, and I think Vin cares about the art, and he cares about family, and The Rock constantly going away to do his little side journeys on his own is very against the family franchise.
So you think this is a direct slight at Vin by him even
1000%.
attempting to do Black Adam?
Oh, no. Those side journeys, whatever. Like,
you mean the side journeys in the movies?
Hobbs and Shaw, I think, is a slight against the family.
So here's the question. Here on that note, the new movie Fast and Furious Presents, or Fast 10 Part 2 : Hobbs, whatever it's eventually going to be called, the difference, and I want your take on this, between Hobbs and Shaw in this one is that Vin is a producer on the new one. Does that at all quell things, or are you still like, no thanks?
What I don't like about it is that, you know, I've heard the stories that The Rock wasn't going to be in X, then he saw it and was like, okay, I'll come back. And then clearly he negotiated, like, I'll come back if I can have my own movie. And I'm sure this was like,
that's actually something we haven't thought about before, Joey. I don't think we brought up that, like, The Rock was like, I'll come back if you give me Hobbs and Shaw 2. And that kind of makes sense. I'm sure
that was a negotiation. And I'm sure Vin was like, we're not just going to give you that. And the negotiation they probably landed on was, fine, I'll produce. You can have this movie if you come back for the final installment and, like, actually be in it.
This is a very interesting, I like this. Okay.
So I'm still against it. Like, The Rock, why do you need that? And you know why you need that? So Black Adam sucked. Young Rock got canceled. The XFL, who wanted that back? No one, obviously. Like, if his career were doing amazing, he wouldn't come back. He'd stay in this feud. Yep. But he's dwindling, and no one is charmed by his Instagram posts anymore. Oh, it's cheat day. I'm eating like 5,000 tons of sushi and pancakes. That's not cute anymore. And that's what I didn't like about Hobbs and Shaw. It was not a movie about family or story. It was a movie about The Rock. It was like, how can I show The Rock's personality in a film only?
But that's every I thought Rock
it was self-serving. Yeah, but you can't do that in the Fast franchise. Okay. The Fast franchise, you know what's so great about 6? I was rewatching it today and I was like, you know what? Vin really lets the ensemble shine. You know, like there's a good 30 minutes where Vin's not in this movie in 6.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think back. I haven't watched 5 since like right before I saw 10. And I think that's similar. You know, Vin does these movies are certainly about Vin Diesel. I can't deny that. But he also really lets the ensemble have their moments to shine. And The Rock only wants his moment to shine. And he's only thinking about himself at all times. And guess what? He's probably a great businessman because of that. But I think people are souring on it. And I've been soured on it for a while. And that's how I feel.
That's awesome. That was a really good take. And I
but
did
you're
like
still
your
gonna
new
see
thought.
You're still going to see Hobbs when it comes out.
I'm going to see it. I'm not going to see it on opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a movie I don't support, but I know I need to see, I won't see it on opening weekend because I do not want to contribute to opening box.
For those numbers. Yep.
I am not contributing to numbers, but I'm going to see it because I'm sure they're going to like connect some sort of lore into it, even though they didn't do that with Hobbs and Shaw, as we know of yet. They seem to like dangle that, and then that hasn't been like.
My biggest annoyance, you might have heard it if you listen to, I don't know, I talk about it like every other episode, is that Vanessa Kirby as Hattie Shaw is so cool, and they're like, she's never crossing over. It's like, why not? What are you doing?
I liked her character. I mean, she's just a great actor, and I like her character a lot. I wish she were in the main franchise.
Yeah.
I'm over waiting at this point, is what, and Chrissy, I'm adopting your emotions towards The Rock.
Thank you. This rules.
To be over the shit of not having Hattie in these movies anymore. I'm done with it. Sick of their shit. Hattie needs to go in there with Rock energy, renegotiate her contract, and get the fuck back in these movies. I'm over it.
Get back. And I think it says a lot that this next movie is not a Hobbs and Shaw sequel. It's just Hobbs, because apparently The Rock and Jason Statham also didn't really get along on filming that movie, which to me makes it sound like The Rock is the common denominator here.
We reached this point recently that we were really like trying to figure out, or like it seems like all arrows point to Vin, with Justin Lin leaving in 10 and like all this stuff, and then now it's coming back around. We're like, this might be The Rock's fault. This could have been The Rock's fault the whole time. And
the hard part is that I actually love the character of Luke Hobbs in the main franchise. Like, he's so good in the movies. I don't like that he calls himself franchise Viagra.
Does he call himself that? I know we know that term. We've used that term. Does he call himself that?
Did I just attribute something to him that maybe he hasn't called himself?
It's believable to the point where, like, maybe he probably did. I mean, that's definitely something that we've called him or that we've referred to him as. But, like, if he coined that himself,
that's really bad. I don't. Yeah, that makes it way different.
Don't listen to me. I might be totally wrong on that. I might be totally wrong. Maybe I just had heard people call him that, and I was like, "What an ass! He's calling himself franchise Viagra." What a sexist douchebag. Okay, I don't need to look this up now, but yeah, I like him in the main franchise so much.
Even so, like, as the movies go on, he becomes less Hobbs and more The Rock, where he's like doing things. Do you like that, or you don't like? You like the earlier where he's less like in 5, where he's more just like military guy than. Or do you like it all?
The earlier. I like the earlier for sure. Because what I think is so nice about him or the Luke Hobbs character, is it's got a really distinct character voice. It almost feels like the dialogue was written before they had The Rock signed on, which might not be true, but or it might be that they wrote it for The Rock and really like went towards his strengths from his wrestling days or whatever. But his sort of like colorful language, like in this movie, one of my favorite lines he says is, "They hit like thunder and disappear like smoke." Like this sort of like flowery language that he uses to describe things, which I feel like goes away as the franchise goes on. He's also like quite a misogynist. In like
the actor or the character?
The character in the early movies. And like in this movie, I forgot that he says like "that ass and brains" about Gina Carano or whatever. I'm like, oh, Luke, you can't say that to your coworker. Like,
yeah, it's kind of creepy.
It's pre-Me Too.
It's pre-Me Too.
Anything flew in London in 2013, I guess.
Yeah. So I did like his character before, because at least that was like, that's shades of something. But then as you go on, it really is just The Rock being The Rock. But I still enjoy his presence. I like his dynamic with him and Tyrese, you know? I think that's fun. And that continues on.
So before we talk about this movie in particular, we used to have a lot of either or questions. We've gotten rid of a lot of those. We have two that are actually three kind of more open-ended questions that as we watch these movies over and over again, there are a couple questions that we've come up with that we don't have answers to. We'll probably never have answers to. So we ask everyone we can to try to help us solve these questions. So in the first movie, if you'll remember, there's a scene where Brian and Mia are doing the dishes. And Vince walks in drunk and starts harassing him. And he's like trying to microwave popcorn. He's like, he can't figure it out. And Mia says, hey, Vince, what's the name of that Cuban restaurant you want to bring me to? You know, the wood tables, the red candles, the picadillo, the food all over the place. What's the name of that? He says, cha-cha-cha. She says, Brian, you can take me there. So as we're watching these movies over and over again, we started breaking them down minute by minute. And when we got to that scene, we're like, Jordana Brewster, what does food all over the place mean? We have no idea. And so if we're like, Chrissy, this was the best experience. Today, truly 101
the best day ever.
The best day ever. Next time you're in New York, let's take you out to dinner. We have the perfect restaurant. It's got these wood tables. It's got these red candles. It's got this picadillo. It's got this food all over the place. You're going to love it. If you hear a restaurant described as having food all over the place, what do you conjure up in your mind's eye? What do you picture? What does that say to you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the first conjuring is not probably what she is meaning to say. I think the first conjuring, when you hear food all over the place, is you assume food's been sitting out forever, and it's like the food is at the table and you're sat at the food, which I think is bad and probably not what she means. What I think might be the intention, you know, at restaurants where there's like kitschy stuff on the walls, you know, like road signs and, you know,
TGI Fridays.
Yeah. I think this is a restaurant where all that kitschy stuff is like a banana with a goofy face, like a ceramic banana with a goofy face, like a cheeseburger with googly eyes. So when she says food all over the place, she's not talking about actual like edible food. She's talking about the decor of food. It's all over the place. You're surrounded by food.
I like
that. A Cuban restaurant, maybe there's plantain chip, like a basket of plantain chips, and they all have like big wide eyes and tiny little mouths, you know?
I want to see this in wallpaper
form. What makes it even weirder is we see Cha-Cha-Cha, we follow them on their date, and there's nothing about the scene that explains this in any way. But I like that. I like both answers. I like the disgusting answer, and I like that's what she means.
Yeah, I mean, the other option could be like a Texas Roadhouse situation where
there's like peanut shells on the ground and
peanut
stuff.
shells on the floor. But I think you'd say peanuts all over the place. You wouldn't say food all over the place.
Peanuts on the floor. Yeah. Okay. Now, fast forward to Furious 7, the first one you saw live.
Yes.
2 questions about this. If you'll remember, there's the scene where they go up in Abu Dhabi to that party, and Vin and Brian, or Dom and Brian, go to the back room to steal the thing from the car, and they drive the car out the window, whatever. But they say, Roman, we need you to shine bright like only Roman Pierce can, distract this room. And he goes and sings the birthday song. So, Chrissy, the 3 of us were on a heist, and Joe and I are going to go in the other room, and we're going to steal something from her car, and we need you to shine bright like only you can. We need you to sing a song, a cappella, karaoke style. What song are you singing that's either so good people are breathtaking, or so bad that they're like, oh my God? What song is that?
Yeah, okay. This is a great question. I think the directive is shine bright like only you could, but also the message behind that is get everyone's attention.
Yes.
So that's why Happy Birthday is so good, is it garners attention. So I can't just be singing any old karaoke song, because like some people might not pay attention, even if I had the most amazing like Celine Dion voice. So I think what you have to sing is like a line dance song, like a cha-cha slide. A Cupid shuffle.
Sing. That's a bold move. I really like this though. Interesting. Okay. Slide to the left, and you have to just. You're doing it in the voice.
Slide to the right.
Okay.
Crisscross.
Crisscross.
Everybody, clap your hands. There's no room you go into where you sing "Everybody, clap your hands" that people don't automatically do it.
I think you need at least one white person to start it. But if
When
there's one white
put
person,
that on at a baseball stadium and everyone just does it automatically, I'm just like, guys, what are we doing here? Come on.
yeah,
I love it. I love it when a baseball player's walk-up song is the Friends theme song. And it might have been a Mets player who used to have this. And it would just be the part where it's the clapping, the clap, 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 clap. I won't do it because of microphones. And everybody does it in the stadium. That's community. And that's how you know no one could look away.
You got him. Like this is a cheat code. You kind of broke through the matrix here.
Thank you.
One of my favorite all-time baseball walk-up, I put it on YouTube because I filmed it because I saw 2 Royals games back-to-back when I was in Kansas City like 10 years ago. And the first day I was just like, this rules. And the second day I filmed it and put it on YouTube and got a bunch of views. But Chris Getz, who I don't think is in the league anymore, used the RBI baseball theme song from NES, like the doodle-doo-doo-doo, doodle-doo-doo-doo, and like he used that as his walk-on. Like, this is
that's awesome.
Unbelievably good. I love it. It's beautiful.
It's very good.
The second baseman, number 17, Chris Getz.
I agree with you.
Now, the last question. Same movie, same character, Roman Pierce. Roman is bragging about how in this movie that we're talking about today, Fast and Furious 6, he shot that plane off the sky of a bow. And Brian says to him, the only thing I've seen you take down is no knees Denise at prom. So we've gotten a lot of answers on this, some good, some bad, some gross. If you hear a person described as having no knees, as no knees Denise, what does that conjure up? What do you think of no knees Denise?
Yeah, I have heard this question on your podcast before. I can't remember the answers that I heard. The only thing I've seen you take down is no knees Denise.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's not said complimentary-ish, whatever.
And he takes offense.
Yeah. So I think what it is, and you know, this is not something that I endorse, in that I would not talk about women this way. But I think what they might be implying is this woman is so easy. I don't know how R-rated this podcast is, but she doesn't do,
you can say whatever
she doesn't do handies. She doesn't do blowies. She does nothing in between. You are either holding her hand or you're like inside of her. So like, that's how easy she is.
Okay.
She's got no knees, Denise. Like, she's not getting on her knees. She's 1 to 100.
I like that you asked what level, and then you made it sound cute, and then you immediately got gross with it. Like, it was all over the place, but it's great.
Yes, I apologize for that.
No, it's perfect.
No, don't apologize.
Okay,
I liked it.
And the final question before we talk about this movie is, do you have a favorite character in these movies? Is it Dom? Or is it not? I know you love Vin, but do you love Dom?
That's a great question. I think, honestly, my favorite character is a tie between Han and Tej.
Tej, okay. We don't get a lot of Tej's as like favorite characters, but I like Tej a lot.
He's so just cool and collected, and he's the hottest he's ever been in this film. Sorry to, sexualize him, I guess, but he looks really good in this movie.
What do you think of his terrible I'm injecting my own opinion here, but what do you think of his terrible Spanish accent in that opening scene where he's
I thought about this when I was watching it this time too, Joey. It's cue card reading of Spanish for sure.
It's like phonetically.
Yeah. I've never noticed it because what I'm always distracted by in that scene
is the fact that he has no shirt on.
And then also that I know the ATM is about to shoot money because I've seen it before, and that just, of course, on this day, there's so many school children hanging out by an ATM, as school children are wont to do.
Yes.
Just showing what a
loiter at ATMs
is. School children love to hang out right by the ATM.
Exactly.
So I've not noticed the Spanish accent. Unfortunately.
I wonder, now that we're talking about it in more detail, I wonder if like he had a shirt on in the original version and they shot a version of just like, we need to distract them somehow. Like, we need to take the shirt off. Let's try it again. The Spanish is going to get better, but we know those abs You know what I mean?
Will be
So-
distracting.
I
Yeah.
endorse that theory 100%.
All right, before we talk about this, actually, let's talk about this movie now. But before we talk about the specifics and what you love and what you don't love and so on and so forth, this all lap long, I found a thing on IMDb. I don't know if you've ever seen this, called Crazy Credits. And I was so excited by this. And for the Fast and Furious movies, it's always a disappointment. It had one of our listeners, one of our friends, wrote in and he explained what it was meant to be. Like, it was in Airplane, like they credited Adolf Hitler as best boy. Like, there were just like goofy
Worst
things
boy,
that like
worst
went on.
boy, yeah.
Worst boy. Thank you. That makes a lot more sense than best boy. Jesus
Yeah, it definitely
Christ.
does.
Jesus
Wow.
Christ.
Figured I would
Anyway.
contextualize that.
But there's crazy credits for every movie, and sometimes they don't have them. But here, they're just like, oh, cars drive from left to right in the credits. Like, that's not a crazy credit. You're just describing something that happens. But because this has become a part of this lap, I'm now looking at the crazy credits for every movie. So there's 3 crazy credits for this movie. Number 1, and what's amazing to me is that unlike trivia on IMDb, which sometimes has like way more downvotes than upvotes, everyone who looks at crazy credits
Loves it.
loves crazy credits. Like the 3 that we have here, the first one is 69 upvotes and only 1 downvote. Second one is 36 no, and the third one is 30 no. So like of the 3 crazy credits, only 1 person saw any of them, was just like, this is not interesting. Everyone else loves these. And I will tell you now, they're not good.
Ever.
Oh, okay.
So here's crazy credit number 1. Again, keeping in mind, like, it was meant to capture, like, making jokes and stuff. Number 1. After the character credits following the film, we're shown Han's final race from the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. However, we start seeing angles of it from inside a car, where a gloved hand is adjusting switches and preparing to move. As in Tokyo Drift, a Mercedes slams into Han's car, but it doesn't kill him outright. The driver of the Mercedes, an unnamed character played by Jason Statham, emerges from his car. He then pulls the, quote, cross necklace, parentheses, seen earlier in the film and also the one from Fast 5 and 4, from his pocket and throws it into the fuel spill / the direction of Han's car. Han's car then explodes from the fuel leak and subsequent engine fire. Jason Statham's character then makes a call saying, quote, Dominic Toretto, you don't know me, you're about to. 69 up,
upvotes.
1 down. That's not a crazy credit, it's just describing a credit scene.
Yeah. It almost feels like that should be in its own section, which is post-credit
Describe
scene.
the credit scene. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or just don't call it
Okay.
crazy credits, just call it credits or something, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
Number 2. Guys, this is so crazy. Just after the credits start, there's a short clip showing the link between Tokyo Drift and the 7th movie. You know the thing we just described? Here it is again.
This is the
Crazy
Tilder version.
this time.
Perfect.
36 up, 0 down. Third and final crazy credit. The opening credits list the film as Furious 6. 30 up, 0 down.
Just the title. It just reads you the title card.
Okay.
Nailed
These
it.
are all things that should be in the trivia section under that. Not all. The post-credit things should be in the trivia section under spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think.
And then the first one should be, the opening credit thing should just be in the regular trivia section.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've
Well,
lost all grasp on crazy credits as a people, as a society.
I didn't even know crazy credits existed.
Neither did we until like 2 months ago, and
You
now
know what
I'm
we
so
need to do?
disappointed.
Make crazy credits great again.
We need to MCC AGA. No, GA,
Make crazy
just
credits
GA.
crazy again. That's what we need to do.
MCCCA.
Maca.
Maca.
Macaw.
Mecca. We can Mecca.
Macaw.
Macaw.
Chrissy, the floor is now yours. We've watched this movie so many times. I still have new notes. I still have new things that I've noticed that I want to talk about. But what do you love about this movie? This is your number 2. You said this is, what was the way you described
3.
it? This is
3.
like,
2. No, 2. Yeah, 2, not 3.
This is my
you said
second.
this is like
yeah.
the epitome of all fast. What was the description you used?
The quintessential Fast and Furious movie.
What makes this that? What do you love about this movie?
Thank you so much for the question. Okay, here's why I think this is the quintessential movie. Is obviously Fast 5 is a resurgence to the franchise.
Yep.
Obviously that. And Fast 5 is objectively amazing, a wonderful action movie. But Fast 6, this is where everything comes together. It's where everything that people love about the franchise and everything that people make fun of about the franchise is at its height. Like the whole I only care about family thing. Dom's code is literally like is talked about in this movie. Like it is defined in this film. Your code is family. So that's defined. That's like a joke people make. This is where they become actual superheroes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they like fly across bridges. They headbutt. They know all of this about like crazy weaponry and gear, which I think is very fun. And what I really love about this movie is that the mission is about family for the first time. So like the first movie is, you know, DVDs, money, but that's when they really become a family, obviously. 2 and 3 or whatever. 4, I honestly don't rewatch that one a lot. I know it's like drug cartel, whatever. 5, they're doing it for family, but they're doing it for money. 5, they are motivated by money, which is still fine. Again, great movie. The 6th movie, they're motivated by Letty and by freedom. And the freedom to them equals family. So this is the first mission where family is is not just something they talk about constantly. It's actually the motivating factor for the mission for all of them. So that's a big thing for me. I also think this is the best Dom and Letty chemistry movie, maybe aside from the first one.
Wait till you see Los Bandoleros, I'll tell you that much.
Oh boy. Well, why I think this one is so good is because every movie from here on out, maybe not 7 because they like take a break in 7, but their love story is just sort of, you know, a given. And in this one, they're having to re-fall in love, like they're flirting, which makes their chemistry like way more immediate and juicy to watch. Besides the like sexless energy they had between them in Fast 10, my God.
You don't think
we were laughing about that?
Super horny that he's like, hey, the kid's asleep. Let me put my head on your belly. You got a baby in there yet?
Is there a baby in there yet? Is it in there? Not yet. It's like, what do you mean? What?
Like knocks. If he would have knocked, that's the only thing I could hope for that was great. If he would just like knocked on her belly. Like, hello.
No. These movies are so sexless. And the hottest moments in this entire franchise is in the first one, where Dom lifts Letty up by like her ass, obviously, in the leather pants. And then in this movie, the most sensual scene in this whole franchise is them like showing each other scars. And Vin like drops his pants and we see like a little bit of his pelvic region. Like them showing each other their pelvic scars is like the most sex we've had in these films in the past 15 years since the first one.
There's also at the end of 5, I think we can't omit Han and Gisele making out on the Autobahn. That's also up there.
Yeah, that's a top tier
really
one.
good.
Yeah, but like you're saying, these aren't sex, they're just sexy things a lot of the time. You know, like they're a lot more like sensual like vibes than...
Well, that's why we've talked about before that like this movie or this franchise views sex more for procreation than for like
of making more family.
For enjoyment.
That's what it's
which
about.
Which is so Christian and pure and strange.
It's very Christian. The more these movies go on, the more I have to reckon with like, oh, these movies are like so Christian and like maybe a Jesus story for Dom. He might consider himself the second coming.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing that I love about this movie, as opposed to 5. So I always defend this movie as opposed to 5 because everyone says 5 is the best, and 5 is obviously a great film. What I also like about this movie is at the beginning of 5, it's so dour. Like everything is so like sad, and it's good stakes, you know, because they're like really, you know, down on their luck. But in this movie, you come in and you have such fun energy.
They're already rich.
They're already rich. Tyrese is on a plane. Ludacris is making the ATM machine like fly out. Han and Gisele getting the phone call in Tokyo. That's also a really hot scene, like underrated. The energy of this movie has a lightness to it.
Yep.
And 5, I find to be like really serious. Still good. And 6, there's more jokes that are actual good jokes. Not just like the unintentional comedy. There's actually like good intentional comedy in this movie.
Would you say on average these movies are funny or not? I mean, because you make a living as a comedy writer, so you have more of a, I think, the ability or the history or the like professional expertise to determine if a thing is funny or not. Do you think these movies are funny or not? Because I feel like either answer I could agree with, but I'm wondering, as a professional comedy writer, do you think on average these movies are funny?
No, but I don't. But I think these movies do a better job landing comedy when they have it in a way that I think is funnier than when, like, it gets a lot of shit, but like when Marvel movies do it. Which and those jokes feel very sanitized, and these jokes, I think, like The Rock shooting the vending machine when Tyrese is hungry, like that's legitimately funny. That's a funny. And another thing why I think this is like a quintessential Fast movie. There's so many quintessential character moments. Like that is The Rock's character, like in one moment. But what I think is also funny about these movies is that the unintentional comedy is off the charts. So I do not think that they that's why I say they aren't funny movies, because I don't think a lot of the moments they're meaning to be funny but are hilarious. Another quintessential character moment for Vin is waking up naked with Elena and then immediately going to work on the car. Like that's hilarious to me. That's hilarious to me. They're fucking naked in bed, tangled up in each other. He gives her a little kiss. He like pushes her side boob off of him, and he puts on a tank top and goes to start working on the car outside. That is so funny to me, but it's they're not meaning that to be funny. Like I know Vin Diesel thinks that that's like the peak of manhood, and that's what he wants to show off. So I find myself laughing at these movies quite a bit. And Fast X actually was pretty funny, I will say. Intentionally and unintentionally. Jason Momoa, I thought was funny.
Yeah, he's really funny. Yeah, he cracks me up.
Is there, on that note, fast forward to the new movies, is there someone, because like all these movies, and I don't know if we're going to get it for the next one or two, because we need to stop doing this at some point, but like the way that these movies get new people excited is like, look who we just added. Don't you love this person? Come see this person. Is there anyone who's out there that has not been in these movies yet that you would like to see them add? Or is there someone like they brought back in 10, they brought back Gisele, they brought back Hobbs? Is there someone that has been gone for a while that you want to see returned? Either way, either answer to either question.
Yeah, I was really happy. My answer before 10 would have been Gisele. I love Gisele, and I love Gisele and Han. So it would have been Gisele. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have an answer to who is out there right now, like celebrity wise, that I think should be in the franchise. But I was thinking today, because I do know that y'all are fans of Mia, quite big fans of Mia.
Yes,
I'm a big fan of Mia.
And I am not.
Ooh.
And I think some of that is the writing of her character in certain films. Like I don't think they give her enough to do. But a lot of that is Jordana Brewster. Like I just don't like her as an actor. And so I was thinking as I was watching 6, like who would I have recast her as? Like with who was around at that time in like 2001 that would have maybe been up for a role like that.
And hold on, there's someone.
Okay.
I'm not going to say who this is, but there's someone that Brian has a brief affair with in that turbocharged prelude, and I wonder if it's the same person you're about to say, because she's definitely a Jordana Brewster type.
Oh, I don't know if this maybe this. I was just thinking like who was around back then and probably would have been at the level to book a role like that. And the only name that came to my head was Jessica Biel.
Well, I will say that Jordana Brewster, Jessica Biel, and this person all famously dated Derek Jeter. There's that like SportsCenter graphic of like his baseball diamond of like romantic interests.
Yes.
The person that Brian has this like little, not even love affair with, just like she helps him out of a tough situation. Again, no dialogue, credited only as girl. Minka Kelly.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't like that though. Because
she's definitely more of a Jordana Brewster type. I think Jessica Biel brings something different. Minka Kelly is again the kind of like sort of Jordana Brewster-y.
I think why I thought Jessica Biel is something that I find lacking in Jordana Brewster's performance is choices and like being able to like be in the action. Like I just never sort of believe her when she's in the action scenes. But then I was really having an argument with myself. It's like, maybe that's what you need. Like we have these other women that are like action stars, like Michelle Rodriguez and Gal Gadot. Maybe Jordana Brewster needs to feel a little bit more like a fish out of water, but I can't. She always bugs me. I can't get it up for her.
I think the issue, I mean, I can't really help the fact that you.
No, it was awesome.
I love it. I can't help the fact that you don't like her as an actor, but I think that like the movie's just like, you exist as Dom's sister and as Brian's girlfriend, and that's your quality. That's who you are. And she's not given anything ever. Like, all she does in 10 is play video games with baby Brian and then go run away and leave the movie.
It's weird. And this movie, you really feel it because she's pretty integral in 5. And so this is a big downgrade for her writing wise in 6, where she really is just like, you are now only a prop. You have become a mother, which means you are downgraded to great man's a woman close to the great man, so the great man can learn, can be motivated by something.
Yep.
When you're in danger.
One of our past guests had this theory that I can't get out of my head, and I wonder if you would have liked it or not. But obviously, Paul Walker's death completely impacted the way that they do everything in these movies, right? But one of the guests that we had on the show said when she saw Fate, she thought it was meant to be Mia and their kid kidnapped instead of Elena. And so they couldn't do that because Brian is not involved, because like it doesn't make sense timeline wise. Not that the movies care about time at all, but for Elena to suddenly have a kid. But it makes a lot more sense if someone that both Brian and Dom are close to and a kid that we already know about is kidnapped by Cypher. Would that have... Because I think what the issue with the Mia character is that when Brian is no longer around because Paul's passed away, they're like, can't have Mia without Brian. It's like, no, you can. But like for a long time, they're like, we can't do one without the other. So do you think that would have worked more? Would that have impacted the way you think about Fate?
I think that would be... I actually think that's a wonderful move. And if that's what they're planning, I think that's great. And honestly, if they were planning to kill her in that movie, I think I'd be chill with that too. But because also timeline wise, sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent on the timeline.
No. This whole show is tangents. It's fine.
When I was doing my rewatch before 10 this summer, they had such an easy window, like to make it make sense. The baby in 8.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you talked about this? Where Michelle...
All we do is try to make sense of things, and nothing ever works.
No. They could have made it work. Letty leaves Dom at the beginning of 7. Dom runs into Elena at the hospital when Rock's in the hospital. Why did they just not say, like, when Dom and Letty were broken up, when Letty left, Dom and Elena hooked up in that time frame? Because then the baby being, like, 8 months old and 8, that would have worked. We could believe that it's been a year and a half between 7 and 8. What I can't believe is that it's been 4 years in between 6 and 8, which is what it seems to be, because Mia and Brian's child, which is born at the beginning of 6, is like a toddler going to some sort of school in 7, which means so much time has passed. So I don't know why they didn't just say, like, oh yeah, they hooked up when they saw... In my mind, that's what happened. They hooked up when they saw each other at the top of 7.
You're the first person to ever suggest that. That's a very easy thing. I think the answer is because they don't rewatch earlier movies or care how things play out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it bolsters that past guest theory that was meant to be a Mia storyline, because they really don't seem to care about the timeline. And I think that would have been a great storyline, honestly. And I think it would have been more interesting if Brian was the one that turned on the family and not Dom.
Yes, 100%, right?
Yeah.
Because Brian was already against the family in the first one. Dom being against the family makes no sense.
No. And I mean, so much of that seems to be because of the Vin Diesel and Rock feud as well. Won't film a single scene together, but I can't talk about The Rock.
One question that I had that I'm not sure my answer to, but Joe, I want to hear from you. I also want to hear from Chrissy. Do we think, now that Gisele is back, now that she's survived, does her sacrifice at the end of this movie to save Han mean any less?
Absolutely not.
You think
No.
it's the same? You think it's the same?
100%
No.
the exact same.
Yes. And this is something that's always bothered me about the end of this movie. And I'm so glad they brought Gisele back because I think about it all the time, which is that Owen Shaw has a much harsher and further fall out of a plane and survives, recovers. And yet Gisele has a much shorter fall and was dead. So I'm so glad she's alive because that never made sense to me.
This is the first time we're rewatching it since we've seen 10. I specifically had an eye out this time because I wanted to just actually focus on exactly where Gisele falls, how she falls, because we always just said that like she got sucked into the engines, right? Like that's what it was.
Oh my god!
I mean,
always
we don't see
said
a body.
She just got sucked into the engines.
yeah. I mean, that's like
we always imagined the worst death possible for her.
Yeah, well, because we don't see a body. And, like, if she would have just fallen, they don't even go look for her body. So we're assuming that she just, whoosh, sucked right into the jet engine. Splat. Yeah. But when I was looking at it this time, you're right. Even though it's a very large plane, they're on the wing. So they're not, like, very high off the ground. And she falls backwards and, like, and it's not like near an engine thing because like of how the plane's set up, the engine would have had to be like right under Han for her to get sucked into the engine. And presumably he might have gotten sucked into the engine too.
Also, we would have seen the explosion. Like we see a guy get sucked into the engine in this movie and we see like, it's a big explosion.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So she just falls like 20 feet. She's just like unconscious, like on the runway and they just like drove away without her.
They never go looking for the body. Well, here is, I don't know if I tweeted a big theory that I'm pretty proud of, honestly.
Tell us.
I don't know.
Is this how we found you? I don't remember how we found you.
I think we both found each other on Twitter.
Okay.
I think this is what happened.
Okay.
Is that, I like so many things about Fast and Furious that your feed, like months ago would be that a feed starts serving you things that you've liked.
Yep.
And I would see tweets from an account called Too Fast, Too Forever. And apologies, it was probably like 6 months ago. I didn't know you were a podcast. I just thought,
totally
this is like
fine,
some like meme account that posts things that I really agree with about Fast and Furious. Just started liking tweets whenever they came up in my thing. And then you all started liking, and then obviously we got here. This is a theory I tweeted out after Fast X.
Okay.
And I'm really proud of this theory, so I hope that it holds.
Okay.
Which is that the only deaths that are true deaths in this franchise are deaths that we see through Dom's eyes.
Ooh.
If we see Vin Diesel see the death, that person is dead. All the people that have come back to life are people that Dominic did not see die.
This is incredible.
Wow.
Because there was a big debate about, like, is John Cena actually dead? And I was like, I think John Cena's dead. We saw, and this is when it clicked. It was like, because we saw Dom see it. Dom saw John Cena die. So that's the only death that really counts. If you think about it, Elena, true death. Dom watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse in the first one, Dom saw it.
Dom saw it. I think he also saw Vince, right? I haven't watched 5 since I thought of this theory. He saw Vince die.
Yep.
Yeah, Vince basically like bleeds out in front of him. Yeah, he sees Vince die.
Diago in 10. He sees Diago die. And then Han, he doesn't see. Gisele, he doesn't see. Letty, he doesn't see. And those are all the deaths that come. So we are Dom's eyes. So if Dom sees a death, that's how we know that it is a true death and that character is like actually dead. And if Dom doesn't see it, then there's always going to be a question mark with that character's death and they could come back.
This is very interesting and a great theory, and one we will subscribe to and attribute to you for the rest of time.
Thank you. I mean, I really want to know. I won't know if it's true until like the final movie and John Cena doesn't come back from the dead. If John Cena comes back from the dead, my theory's completely kaput. But I really don't think he is.
Well, so our theory about the John Cena thing is that he built a death-proof car and that he's not actually dead. Because like 15 minutes before he dies, he's talking about Brian, about how he used to be afraid of cars because his dad died in a car, but he got over that fear. And then they jump out of the plane in that, skyboat thing, whatever. You're of the mind that Cena is dead, that Jacob is dead in 10. Do you think any of the 4 on that airplane that supposedly crashes, do you think Dom and baby Brian are dead? None of them. Only Jacob.
No.
Only Jacob.
Only Jacob, I think. And Diago, of course, but he's not a main character. I just love him.
Fan favorite Diago, as we learned recently that they told us in some...
That they? Who's they?
We
Who's they?
Yeah, that's what we asked.
We watched Fast 5 for the first, like Joe just said, this is the first time we've seen 6 since we saw 10. So when we saw 5 3 weeks ago, we were like, okay, because we didn't remember when they brought him back. We're like, who is this guy? And we've seen these movies so many times. We're just like, who is this guy? Like, he was in 5, we know that, but like, we don't know who he is. And so we look at the actor's IMDb. We're like, maybe he's like a big musician in Brazil. He's a dude
we're trying
from
to
Jersey.
guess.
He's just an actor from New Jersey. And in his IMDb like bio, it's like, and 2023 is a big year as it marks the return of fan favorite character Diogo to the we're like, according to who? Like, who wanted him? Like, we want Suki back. We've wanted Gisele back. We wanted Hobbs back. Nobody's like, give us Diogo. Like, he's cool. He's fine.
Yeah,
but
it's just not on any list that I would have conjured up in my brain to be like you were like, oh yeah, who would I bring back? Or like, who would I recast? Who did I want? Your first thought was a Diogo.
We were like, maybe there's like a big plot or a big scene that we don't remember from 5. And then we rewatch 5. We're just like, no, that was it. We remembered it right. He's fine.
Well, anytime you see somebody's like bio on IMDb actually like written, that's just that person or their manager.
So according to him, he's fan favorite.
Telling us, and you know what? You gotta respect that hustle. I could never do it even if I had a role as big as him in a movie like this. I don't think I could ever write on my IMDb.
Spoiler, not a big role,
fan
but
favorite.
Keep going. Yes.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. Not a big role, but even if I had a role like that
this
in
size,
like a major movie, I would never say fan favorite.
I will, while we're on the topic of IMDb, I never looked this up before, but I looked up what the name of the character is, because one of my favorite character names in any of these movies is in Tokyo Drift. So like we have in this movie, we have Rita Ora start the race in London, right? This is London, baby. She does the thing.
Yes.
My favorite character name in any of these movies is in Tokyo Drift. The guy who does that is exceedingly handsome guy. And he's just the guy who has the cigarette. He's got like this like very well-fitted suit.
Yeah.
And he's just like a super handsome Asian dude.
Exceedingly handsome.
And he just, says, go. And they just, whatever. So it's like, what could this guy's, like, does he have, like, is he, like, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Brent, like, whatever. So Jason Thorpe is the actor. Do either of you want to guess? He does not have a character name. He has, like, a description.
Who are we talking about?
The guy who talks about The Rock's honeys. The one who, like, is very mean to them at the auction block.
Yeah.
So do either of you want to guess what he is credited as in this movie?
Yes, I want to guess.
Please.
Go ahead.
Snooty car concierge.
That is better than what he is credited as, but you're in the ballpark for sure. Joe, do you want to take a guess?
I was going to go like too proper mean guy.
He is credited. So Jason Thorpe is the actor. He is credited as Snobby. I like Snooty better, but Snobby's pretty good. Snobby, auctioneer, organizer.
Oh, it's an auction.
Auctioneer. Yeah, auctioneer is a good word. I was thinking auctioneer. God damn it.
This is in his top 4. I think he's probably just a character actor who's like been in a bunch of stuff, but this is still one of the 4 things that either he has set or people find him the most through this movie. It's no exceedingly handsome guy, but Snobby, auctioneer, organizer is pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I was also like, am I going to recognize this guy? Oh, yep. No, I do. I know exactly who this guy is. There we go.
That's great. I've gushed so much about how much I love this movie, but I do know that this movie has flaws, and I would say that sequence is one of them.
Chrissy, I'm with you. When I was watching it specifically this time, I was thinking like, I'm done. Cut the whole car sequence out. Cut exceedingly annoying auctioneer out, and just skip right to the chase. Bring the cars up. Just say we found these, and then we're good. I don't need that whole scene anymore. I'm done with it.
I applaud the intent behind it, which is that I think they were like playing with pairing up different people. But The Rock and Ludacris and Tej, like those character pairs don't play off each other well. this is my theory about this scene, is that they shot the auction scene and they were like, ooh, The Rock and Ludacris, they're not cooking the way we wanted them to. So then they added this like big comedic bit of like stealing his clothes, which I think just falls so flat.
I think so too.
To try to like save that sequence. But pairings that I think really work in this movie are Han and Roman. So that's another reason why this is my favorite, is that so many movies in the franchise, I remember incredible car sequences from it, like obviously Bank Heist, Vault, but this movie has my favorite fight sequences, multiple of them. Both subway fights I think are incredible, and prison fight with Braga are all great. And Vin headbutts somebody. Does he ever do that again in any other movie?
So. He does a flying headbutt, which is pretty good. What I like about the subway scenes, which I was surprised by this time, I don't think we ever see them lose a fight from here on out. Like, they win every fight they're in, and here they get their ass thoroughly handed to them.
They get their ass handed to them, and I love that is juxtaposed to Michelle Rodriguez and Gina Carano. I mean, Gina Carano, bleh, but it's an incredible fight scene. But those two are like, they're at the same level, and like neither of them are letting up, and it's like a really intense fight. They're both like holding their own, and then that's juxtaposed with these like two dudes who are like fighting against one guy and getting their ass handed to them. It just like shows like how freaking awesome Michelle Rodriguez and the women fight scenes are. Although I do dislike that, I'm glad that they changed in 9. It used to really bug me that they had to add a woman into every movie so that Michelle Rodriguez had someone to fight. And at least in 9, there was Mia and Michelle fought together, but they fought against men, right? In Tokyo.
Also there. Yep. Mm-hmm.
With Elle. And I appreciated that, I will say, because I was starting to get annoyed by like, who's the new woman in here that will fight Michelle Rodriguez? Because Michelle Rodriguez can't fight a man.
Speaking of women in this movie, there is, I don't think I've ever mentioned, and I don't know if I've ever really thought about, but one of my favorite moments in any of these movies is from female Brian, because I don't know her character's name because they're never actually given, but the attractive blonde in Shaw's crew.
Yep.
When they're in that opening kind of chase, race, whatever, and she flips him with the flip car, which they also call a ramp car, whatever. And then as she drives by, she winks at him. I'm like, that rules. That's so good. And then at the end, when they're on the world's longest runway, he doesn't flip her, but he makes her crash. And then we see him drive by. I'm like, why don't you wink? You should wink back at her. And he doesn't. But I love her in slow motion, just winking like, got you.
Wow, that's so true. He should have winked.
He should have winked.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, I think another thing that is compelling to me about this film as opposed to others is that 5 does dual antagonists very well. So 5 does The Rock being an antagonist for the team and Reyes being an antagonist very well. And they try to recreate that in 7, and I think it gets messy. Because I think Jason Statham's really good, but I forget the
Mosey Jaconda. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Makes no
he's
sense.
just not developed enough for it to. And I feel like they were trying to recreate dual antagonists from 5, and it doesn't work. But in this movie, it's just one main antagonist, and then he's got all these flackies that don't really matter, which I think is great. Like, we only care about Owen Shaw, and his team is like replaceable. You don't need to get to know them, and we don't have a second antagonist. We have a double agent, which is great. And sorry to ramble.
No.
You're fine.
This is beautiful.
Another thing that I love about this movie, and is my controversial opinion, is this is the last movie before they introduce God's Eye, which when it came in 7, I was like, what a cool technology. But now I feel like they're handcuffed to the story-wise to this technology, that every movie somebody's got to talk about who's got the God's Eye. Nobody can be like one step ahead of the other person because somebody's got the God's Eye. They can see where someone is at all times. This movie is so interesting because Owen is one step ahead of him, not because he has any sort of fancy technology where he can scan any security camera anywhere in the world and find their target immediately, like the easiest cheat code ever in an action movie.
Yep.
It's because there was a double agent there the whole time, and that's like a twist and such a fun twist. And God's Eye, I just feel like, I get so tired. In Fast X, I was like, I don't need to hear about God's Eye again. They need to just decide that somebody destroyed it and it didn't exist anymore, and no one will create it again because Ramsey created it initially. Like, they should just destroy it.
And she morally can't do it twice. She knows the ramifications. It's put to pasture. We never see this technology again. Yeah.
Because that's also, it complicates the fact that every one of these movies has to have higher stakes than the previous one. Like, they can't just save the world. They have to save the world again in a more spectacular way. And to add in, like, they can't not use God's Eye because it's like, well, we have it. People know it's out there, right? Now it's like a little pocket-sized thing that you can just carry around with you.
It's a Palm Pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're fighting about who has God. And God's Eye switches hands so many times because it's in this little Palm Pilot thing. And you're like, wait, who has God's Eye? Who knows where who is? I don't know. I get fatigued by the God's Eye of it all in the later films.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think like that's why when I was watching this one today, and we've talked about this recently, I think even when I'm watching like the later movies that I love, like I love them all, but there's some that I love more than the others. But even when I'm watching these, I'm just like, there's something just so nice about like the first one, even the ones that you don't like as much, like 2 and 3, like they're simpler, they're smaller, they're shorter, they're tighter. Yep. Even a movie like this that's like objectively good and filled with good characters and good performances and good stunts and whatever, just like there's something nice to be said about like the simplicity of the early movies and just being able to do things in a smaller way that like as they keep getting bigger and more expensive and more bloated in both good and bad ways, it's like, I don't know, I kind of want just like a movie about like racers in Southern California again.
Well, because also, I mean, and I like Too Fast quite a bit. I think with Too Fast, because you don't have all that crazy tech and it's not like we're saving the world, blah, blah, blah. Moments from Too Fast have sat with me for so long. Like the villainous, the rat in the bucket on the stomach.
The rat
like
in the bucket, yep.
I will never not, like that is the most visceral thing I've ever seen a villain do in a movie. And you can't sort of recreate that in this new era where what I guess maybe the Jason Momoa with the dead bodies taped is like the closest they've gotten to a villain moment that wasn't like shoot someone with a gun or like found you in a car because of God's Eye. Like there's something more low tech about those moments in Too Fast that stand out more because it's not technical.
Yeah. I have one more note, I think, which is just shouting out Shea Wiggum. The year of Shea Wiggum continues. He was great in Mission Impossible. He's great in Spider-Verse. And here he is. He's got a very, like, I just like seeing him pop back in things. And just, great here. Getting his nose broken again, helping Brian out.
Awesome.
Love it. Shout out to Shea Wiggum.
He's really good. I haven't seen the new Mission Impossible, but I love that for him, that he's in that.
He's got like a big part too. Like considering he's never been in one of those before, just like, oh, I thought you were going to be like in 1 or 2 scenes. Like he's throughout. Like he's good in it. So
I had a question, and I don't know. I'm doing a question like y'all do a question.
Please,
just a conversation starter.
Yes.
When I was watching it, there's the famous line, "We'll do what we do best, improvise." I don't know how, like, what relationship you both have to improv comedy, and it got me thinking, like, and stop me if you've talked about this before. Who would be the best improviser? Like comedic improviser?
We've not talked about this.
Character-wise or actor-wise?
Character.
We've not talked about this before. We've talked about how that line has no history at all in the franchise. There's no basis for that line.
No.
Like, they've never shown like success in like every single thing they've succeeded at has been like planned out meticulously. Like they don't improvise at any point.
Yeah, the 5th movie is like a very detailed plan. Yes,
to the T. Just perfectly down the line.
Their most successful mission ever was explicitly laid out.
You know who I think would be really bad at improv comedy?
Yes.
Tyrese.
Roman would
That's who I think would be awful too. Yeah.
I think he'd be really, like, he would try too hard, it would come off bad, and he would be, like, mad that people weren't laughing, and, like, disappointed that they didn't understand his improv.
He is the living embodiment of the opposite of yes and. He's a no but stomp off angry.
Yes,
he would come out and make huge moves, and like in a scene that was otherwise going well, he'd come in. You know, he's the person. If there's a restaurant scene, he's coming and being like, "I got to be the kooky waiter."
Exactly.
Know?
And you'd be like,
I don't know if you've done improv. You know that kind of person.
This is like, you're like, no, we're at like a self-serve frozen yogurt place, and he's like, I'm the kooky waiter, and you're like, there is no waiter at the frozen yogurt place, Roman. He's like, but I'm the kooky waiter, and you're like, stop. Like,
also,
what are you doing?
I have a British accent. Why?
Yeah, exactly, and a gun.
I think Han would be the kind to hang around in the background of a scene and have one really well-timed joke, but he couldn't carry a scene.
Yes.
I think Mia would probably be good because I think that she would secretly have been studying and practicing.
She does. She has a tie to homework. I think the answer to your question is that most of these people would be terrible at improv comedy.
I think Tej would rule.
Tej is my top pick.
I think Tej would
be. Yeah, I think he'd be pretty good.
And I think Gisele would be great too. I think Brian would be bad, but he would be such a fun teammate, and he would not be like so bad it derails a scene, but he would just be really bland, but so happy to be there. Like the kind of guy who's like, he's such a great teammate and he's so happy in every scene he's in. Sure, he's not the funniest, but he's like, he would tell everybody how good they did. Jokes.
And he would tell everybody how good they did afterwards. He'd be like, you had a great day today. You were like so on. You made me laugh the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
And Dom would be the coach. Dom would be their coach for sure. Dom would not get on that stage.
I have two more answers. One is a smaller character and one is a bigger character. I think Deckard would be pretty good because I think he plays well with the baby, with baby Brian, with baby Jack.
Okay.
No, baby Brian.
Lil B.
I also think Twinkie Bow Wow would be very good.
That's a good one.
I would not be surprised if he like does improv in that Tokyo high school.
He definitely is on the high school improv team at the Tokyo High School for sure.
Or he's at least like in the theater department. He's something. He's performative.
Set design. He has the Hulk car. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I love those answers.
Do you think
that was a really fun thought experiment too?
Helen Mirren as Queenie would be good or bad? Because I could see it either way.
Oh,
she would watch. She would come and just sit in the audience. I don't think that she would contribute at all. Or she would like give critiques, but I don't think that she would participate.
I think she wouldn't participate unless she had like 4 drinks in her and they were like, come on, just do it. And then she gets up to do like a little improv jam and she either slays it or is the messiest, worst possible person and like won't get on the stage. Like people edit her scenes and she like won't leave the scene.
Okay.
That's how
I like both of those. Yeah, that works for me. I could see her being like really drunk. She slays it once, and they're like, "Oh my god, you have to do that again." She's like, "I retire." You know, like that was my one scene.
Yeah, that was it.
I killed it. Like that
and
was. And
everyone remembers her as like the best improviser ever.
Yes.
I think it's also true of the like we asked the karaoke question before too. I think that she goes out every week with the group, but doesn't perform, and that she does the one song that can never be topped, and then never goes back up again.
Yep. And sits there and drinks in the back. And they're like, are you going to do that song again? She's like, I already did that song. And they're like, do you have another song? She's like, no.
No, that's my song. I did it the one time.
So amazing. Wait, speaking of Queenie, sorry if I keep derailing everything.
You're fine.
I haven't listened to a lot of your Fast X episodes. Have you talked about the Rita Moreno of it all? Yes. And like what you think is going to happen with that character?
We're not talking about what we think is going to happen.
What they think. I don't think that they know what they think that they should do with Rita Moreno. Because, I mean, it's open-ended, right? She can come back, or they could just be like, grandma's at home. They could send baby B with her. Who knows?
They just made such a big deal about how she was cast in the film that I was expecting her to do so much more. And she was just there to be like, this is our grandma. And have that weird hug with Dom. Like that weird, very like, there was sadness behind that hug. And I didn't know why at that point in the movie yet, because everything was fine. And yet they were both very sad hugging each other at the barbecue. So I don't have any theories on this. I was just wondering if y'all had discussed this because I was very confused by.
I don't think she's going to get a bigger role
in the movie.
I don't think that she's like going to be in more like coming forward, but I think that she'd probably get about the same amount of of screen time, if I had to guess.
Do you think we're going to get either, if he's, I mean, we don't know anything about these characters. For a movie or for a franchise so about family, we've talked about this a little bit before, there's so many characters we don't know. Like, will we get Grandpa Toretto? Will we get Dom and Mia and Jacob's mother, who we don't know anything about? Will we know Brian's parents? Will they show up? Will any other family members, not like big plot twist, like Dom has a brother. Oh, also Mia has a brother too. Like, but in terms of like adding character backstory, do you see anybody in that kind of Rita Moreno semi-cameo type of thing? Will we get that in these final movies?
I don't know if we'll get new, but I do think we'll get reveals. So from my understanding, and maybe I just read into this, I thought Vin and Mia's mother was dead, was passed. And that's why they grew up with their father. But maybe that was never explicitly said, and I
don't think it's explicitly said. Joe, do we know?
Maybe it might be in that bonus scene, Joey, actually.
Wait, like Chrissy, do you know in the first movie, Vince's mom is in the hospital dying, which is kind of why he's so angry?
No.
That they cut out of the movie? Yeah, it's a wild twist. Watch it again through that context. It's very, very weird.
There's a deleted scene where he shows up to the barbecue and they're like, because he
how's your almost dead mom?
He shows up to the barbecue where he like stomps away, then he comes back. But Dom says, how's your mother doing? He's like, oh, thanks for asking. Like she's
and
whatever.
They're like, take a plate for her when you go back to the hospital room to see her. Like
it's so
that's
weird.
Sweet.
I think they just it's like a lie of omission. Like I don't think they ever reference them because these movies are so about daddy. Like so much media is about daddy issues that like the mom never comes into it. But I don't think they ever say, because they talk about Dom, like their dad doing homework with Mia. The dad with the shop, the dad, we
see the
Jack.
dad. Yeah, we see the dad in the flashbacks. No mom there.
I don't know, but I do think, I mean, I heard tell like a while ago, right after Furious 7, and I don't know if this was ever substantiated, that the maybe plan for Kurt Russell, Mr. Nobody, was that surprise reveal he's Brian's dad.
Yep.
We pitched
and I still think that is true. And I think that's why Brie Larson is cast as Mr. Nobody's daughter, Miss Nobody, whatever they call her, because she looks a hell of a lot like Paul Walker, and that's going to be the reveal.
You think so? Yeah.
I do think so, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, they could be siblings. It would make sense.
When
I wouldn't argue it.
Cast, we were trying to figure out, is she Brian's sister? Is she Cypher's sister?
That's we said Brian's sister a lot. That was our guess, like our main guess before.
And then they were like, Mr. Nobody's daughter. We're like, well, that makes no sense, but also it does firm up the Brian, Mr. Nobody theory. Because there's the line where he's like in 7 where he's, I got something to say. You really got to try the Belgian ale. But it seems like they're building toward a moment where it's like, I'm going to actually like unveil something important here. And then it's like a joke. But it feels like they wanted to do more.
But Brian says he doesn't remember he remembers his dad, but he doesn't remember anything about his dad. Is the context that he uses in 5, right? Because he says, Dom, do you remember anything about your dad? And he says, yeah, I remember everything about my father. And he's like, oh, because I don't remember anything about my dad. But it doesn't mean he doesn't know his dad. It wasn't like I never met my dad. It was I just don't remember anything about him.
I always assumed that implied that his dad abandoned him at a very young age.
Or his dad was the head of a global spy organization, was never home.
Also, I mean, that makes sense. It's just like a weird way to pitch. Not that they fucking care. There's no
they don't care. That's the thing.
Yes,
you're right.
It would be like, yeah, like I don't remember. Like it's like I don't remember anything about him. Implies that you met him. You might have pictures together, but you just don't remember. Like you were so young when he left or when he died that you don't remember. But like if Mr. Nobody shows up, like they've been in the same room together, it would be weird that he's like, surprise, I was your dad the whole time. It didn't tell you, haha,
But let's go with this theory that you floated to me from your past guest about 8 was going to be Mia kidnapped. Brian turns against the family. Maybe 8 was going to be Brian's movie, before.
That's what I think, yeah.
The sadness happened. And 7 is where they introduced Mr. Nobody. So I could posit that if 8 was going to be Brian's movie, it was going to be about Brian's crisis of faith, or not crisis of faith, but like going through his own family crisis, watching his wife die or something, now being just a father to this child, being like, I never even knew my father. I think that could have set the table for an 8. Maybe that's where we were going to get a Kurt Russell,
I
Mr.
agree.
Nobody, I'm your dad reveal.
That makes a lot of sense. I can
Because Kurt Russell is in a lot of 8, which makes me think they maybe locked him in for 7 and 8 in a contract sort of situation. Because how much is he's not in 10 at all?
He's on.
Is he in 9?
A computer
9.
screen in 9. And he's in some flashbacks. Like he explains, like when Han explains how he got back, he's in like flashback scenes with Mr. Nobody. But that's like it's a day.
And remember, because he's on the plane and then it crash. We don't know where he is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then because we also thought Joe had a theory for a while that Mr. Nobody was evil, like he was the big bad, and then like the farther away we get from that like they just don't bring him back. It's like if he was actually evil, he would be around more. It just feels like they don't know.
I thought that he was like the puppet master after 9, and he was like disappeared in the crash, like trying to find Cypher. I thought that it was gonna be like surprise. He's like actually the worst guy ever, and like they've all been like doing his bidding, but he's secretly making them do evil shit because they don't know, and he's running the secret evil empire, and they just got sucked in.
I do wonder why he hasn't been in the last 2 more. I wonder if it's a scheduling thing on his part, or if it's like a story thing in that they actually don't really know what to do with him. And they don't know how to write his character in. It could go either way.
Okay, I'm looking now at his IMDb. So he did the Christmas Chronicles movies with episode 2 coming out later this year. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, true.
But he was he did the voiceover in the Tarantino movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And he was the voice of Ego in 2 episodes of What If. But he hasn't done anything else since F9.
So it's not scheduling then, yeah.
Either he's
or maybe he just... Sorry, you go.
No, maybe. I mean, I hope he's not like sick. You know what I mean? Like, I hope he's not
That's
like
the word, like
just an older dude,
Bruce
you know what
Willis
I mean?
type situation, and he's like fighting something, and that would be really sad. I hope not.
That would be really sad because they're my number 1 celebrity couple that
Goldie
I
and Kurt.
love and adore, Goldie and Kurt.
Have you seen those Christmas Chronicles movies where he plays Santa and she plays Mrs. Claus?
Yeah, I saw the first one.
We watched the first one because we're like, Kurt and Goldie, here we go, and she's not in the movie. We're like, what the fuck? So we're gonna watch the second one.
She's at like 1 second, right?
Yeah.
So
I've seen some of the second, but not all the way through. I think it could also, I feel like from what I've heard, Kurt Russell is a real sort of like no nonsense guy in that he's very straightforward about things he likes and doesn't like. So I hope it's not the case that maybe he did some of these and was like, I'm tired of doing these. Don't want to do them anymore. Like,
because he did Guardians 2, right? So he saw how like the 2 biggest franchises on Earth operate. So I don't know. Joe, did you notice anything new this time through?
It actually kind of harkens back to your point about the no winking. And we always bitch that like they don't care about the movie or like blah, blah, blah. And we were talking about how they've mentioned time travel twice in the newest one. In this one, Brian is playing with a paper plane twice before they get to the plane. He has one that he's playing with Jack. And then when he's in prison, he makes a paper plane and like throws it right before Braga shows up to his door, like when Braga knocks on his door. And I was like, oh, interesting foreshadowing that there's going to be like the cars don't fly, all this kind of stuff. Like, I'm like, wow, that's something I missed before, that he's like plane, and then you're on a plane.
That was the first time on this watch today that I noticed that as well. Because
Really?
When he was, yeah. He was playing with the paper plane in the first scene with little baby Jack. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Is this because the cars fly in the next movie? Because I remembered cars don't fly. I mean, that's really explicit in the 7th one. But I was like, there's no way that's what they were referencing. And then the second time it came up, I was like, why does he have a plane? Is there something with a plane? And then I completely had blanked out. I was like, oh, yeah, the whole end of this movie is on a plane. The foreshadowing is just he has plane and there will be plane. Like
his job is plane.
His job is plane.
His job is plane. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we talked about it every time. I think we talk about it every time, but I just love how he goes through this whole thing. Like he puts himself at risk to like be arrested for the rest of his life if he does not get out like within 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then he gets back and Dom just like, that was for you. It's like, no. That was for all of us. what did you learn? Dom's like, I don't want to know. It's like you put so much risk for no reason.
I like it because I love that fight scene, and I love the dialogue between Braga and Brian in that scene as well. But it really is like just completely unnecessary, and it's crazy how Dom's like, I don't want to know a single thing you heard out there. And I've always thought of that scene and the scene at the gun shop as being like, there are two big scenes in this movie where you get like no information, like the story is not moved forward, until I realized today that when they're in the gun shop and they like fight the guy, they get no information, and then you don't see Brian and Dom for like 30 minutes. I realized, oh no, wait, the thing that they set up is the pawn shop guy being like, I don't know where racers hang out or something, like she's a racer. And then the next time you see Dom is he's going to a race where he finds Letty, but that's like half an hour later, so you sort of forget. But also it's like Dom didn't need the pawn shop guy to tell him that. Like Dom knows
Letty's gonna be near a
Dom
car.
knows that Letty's a racer.
Yeah.
I mean, Chrissy, we also learned from the scene in the prison where you say nothing happens. We learned that Braga's description of a girl without a memory is perfect girl.
Perfect girl. I mean, I obviously
so much.
Obviously bad for the cause of womanhood, but an incredible line for a villain. Like, I think it's so in line with this character. I love that line. Like, of course, this like awful guy thinks this amazing driver and badass fighter who has no memory and no loyalty is perfect, is like a fighting robot. A great line. Perfect girl.
I also think it's weird that when they realize that there's the Braga element, that Braga and Shaw are working together, they know each other, they're aligned or whatever, Brian says it in a way that he's basically like, Letty's fault, man. Like, that's the connection. But he says it in a way that like is blamey of her, not like, oh, Letty was being run by Braga and now Letty's with Shaw and like whatever, like they both used her.
I would 100% imagine that this is Paul Walker mailed in that line, and that's where you're taking this from, and it's just tonally weird.
There's a way we're just like, oh, they both manipulated her because we know that Braga was using her, whatever, like she was trying to get Dom free or whatever. She was like an insider or whatever. But Brian's just like, there we go, Letty's the... It's just like, dude, like she's a perfect girl with no memory. Don't blame her. But,
yeah.
You know, I will. So let's count down the not cars. And I think this is a
it's a good one.
It's a particularly good one because they don't describe Shaw's crew as being good drivers. They describe it as they're good at vehicular warfare, which to me is like they use every page of the book. They've got all the vehicles at their disposal. So Joe, count it down. What do you have? Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 7 different ones.
You want me to run through my list?
Run through your list, and I'll see if you missed any.
Han and Gisele's motorcycles. Mm-hmm. Roman's jet that he's on. Mm-hmm. Possibly counting Baby Jack's model cars.
Didn't count that, but sure. Why not? Why not?
Paper airplane, which I just brought up.
Not on my list, but a good one.
Thank you. Flip car, possibly.
I have that. I have that underlined. I'm like, that maybe that counts. Like Hobbs as the military car that I don't think really counts, but like could maybe.
Okay, and right after we see the flip car, I found my favorite thing to look for. When they're after the flip car, they're in the shootout.
Oh, I know you're. I didn't see it, but I know where you're gonna go.
There's a bicycle locked up right there, sitting there. So there's a bicycle that's right in the middle
Beautiful.
of the shootout. Yep, love it. After that, double-decker London bus.
Ooh, very nice.
Literally, the London Tube. We see the train of the London Tube.
Yep.
We get the prison jet for Brian.
Sure.
Which is possibly a different jet.
You have so many that I missed, but yeah, keep going.
A tank.
Uh-huh.
And a cargo plane.
Yep. The only one that I had that you did not mention is that in the opening It's not the opening scene, I don't think, but it's when we cut to London for the first time. It's after they race to the birth, and there's the cool like montage credits.
Yeah.
When we have the establishing shot in Moscow, there's a helicopter that flies through the frame. So
I was gonna I actually thought that The Rock landed in a helicopter. He drives up, and I was like, oh man, did I miss it? And I was like, Joey will get it. But I always look for helicopters too. Awesome, good find.
Chrissy, how would you define what makes a vehicle? Because we've been trying to figure this out all lap. It seems like a very easy question that we have somehow gotten worse at answering as this has gone on.
Yeah, what part of it are you getting stuck on?
All of it, apparently?
What is a vehicle?
Okay.
Okay, so here's a different
You
way
heard
to
our
ask it.
list. What counts? What did you hear and was like, that doesn't fucking count?
Is a bicycle a vehicle?
Oh.
Is a
Now that's where
surfboard
it gets
a vehicle?
thorny. No,
Is a
I would call those no. I would call
Bicycle,
those
not even.
mode of transportations, but not vehicles. Vehicles to me implies some sort of automotive is the wrong thing.
Power,
some sort of machine power.
Self-propulsion,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like a skateboard doesn't count then.
Not to me, no.
A scooter, like a Razor scooter, no, but electric scooter like a Lime, yes.
I guess unfortunately I'm gonna have to say a Lime yes.
So
even
she's
though-
right in line with what Aaron wrote in about.
Yeah.
He's like, a
Okay.
bike doesn't count. I'm like, we need a bike to count because we're doing bike movies.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Ooh. Well, why can't you just call it a transportation lap? Does it need to be a vehicle lap?
No, we're just arguing for the sake
No.
of arguing. None of this matters. but yeah, that's what, because we're like, you start to get in this gray area that like, what the fuck counts and doesn't. But
And
'Cause
what
we
is
thought
a
we
bike
knew.
movie?
Oh, like Rad
Rad.
BMX movie.
I've
Oh, you gotta
never
see
heard of
Rad.
that.
Chris, you're gonna love Rad.
It's great.
It's if you meld with us this well
Mhm.
as I think you're exhibiting, I think you're gonna fucking love Rad. I
It's
think you
an
absolutely will.
incredibly 80s BMX movie where Aunt Becky, Lori Loughlin, plays
Yes.
a girl who comes into town with
She's
a
very
bike
young.
promoter, and the main character crew has to choose between taking the SATs and trying out for Hell Track, which is a BMX race.
Hell track.
Yes.
Okay. That
Where
rules.
he's the only non-professional in Hell Track.
Mhm.
Okay, well, if you count bikes as vehicles, I'm sure you've already got your lap all mapped out, but then you might also count inline skates or rollerblading as
You
vehicles.
talking about Airborne?
I'm talking about Airborne.
Airborne rules.
I love that movie. I watched that movie like all the time when I was a
If
kid.
you love Airborne, you're going to love Rad. I will also
Okay.
recommend Thrashin' if you've not seen Thrashin'. Have you seen Thrashin' with Josh Brolin?
I haven't. No.
All right, Chris, you got 3 homework.
Okay.
In
I
order.
gotta write it
Rad-
down,
Rad
actually.
for
I'll
sure.
forget.
You
Los
got it.
Bandoleros is short. So Los Bandoleros, number
Yes. 20 minutes.
20
in,
minutes
in
in.
and out.
1. It might even be
Yeah, of
19
course.
minutes. It might be under 20. Number 1, Los Bandoleros. Number 2, Rad from 1986, I think. And Thrashin', I think, also from 1986.
Great.
That's your
When you
I'll watch
watch
it.
Rad, write in. We just did the episode 2, but it's a really great
Okay.
movie.
It's beautiful. Do either of you have any more notes about this movie, or do we want to find out which Fast and Furious character Chrissy is?
Let's hear what Chrissy is.
You have any more notes?
Yeah,
Or
I
do you wanna
don't
find out?
think I have any
Okay.
more notes.
So we have a character quiz. There are 7 multiple choice questions, 6
I'm
answers
excited.
per question. No wrong answers. You can either explain your answer, you can just answer and we can move on. Totally up to you. But we're going to
Okay.
find out there are 20 or 25. I think there's 20 options, 20 results. Exciting. Our last episode with Lisa, we got a character we'd never gotten before. So it's very exciting. It also turned out to be the only, because it's also kind of like horror, you'll see, but it's like horoscopy. Like it had a very negative character write-up, which we were surprised exists. But anyway, here we go. Again, no wrong answers. Question number 1, Chrissy. How fast are you? NASCAR, roller coaster, Lamborghini Murcielago, Toyota Prius, Vespa, or Razor scooter?
Roller coaster.
Question number 2. You know it's coming. How furious are you? The Hulk, Kylo Ren, Christian Bale in that one movie set that one time, Mel Gibson, Charlie Brown, or Jack McBrayer?
Oh God. It feels like there's not sort of an in-between between Mel Gibson and Charlie Brown.
It was a big gulp. Big
Yeah.
gap.
Big.
I will say that people tend to do the Christian Bale as like I get mad every once in a while, but when I get mad, don't be around me. The Mel Gibson one, I think we finally had somebody answer. We're like, that's a bold choice that you're going with that.
Yeah, I think it's Charlie Brown for me, honestly.
Okay.
Like, I think I can
Would work.
control my anger. Like, if I'm angry, I wouldn't tell anyone, don't be around me. I can, like, control that anger. So I wish there were an in-between between Mel and Charlie for me, but Charlie.
Okay.
Question number 3, Chrissy, we're having a barbecue. How are you helping? Are you on the grill? Are you saying grace? Are you kicking back with a beer? Are you babysitting? Are you being the entertainment? Or are you sneaking a snack?
It really depends who's at this barbecue, honestly. I think I'm probably just kicking back with a beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 4, you've got time to kill. What are you doing? Are you grabbing a bite? Are you working on your car? As you wake up on the weekend in bed with your husband and you roll out to your car.
He pushes you away.
I
right in
push
the
his
side
naked
boob.
body off me.
Yeah.
Grabbing a bite, working on your car, hanging with friends, drinking a beer, working out, or doing some work on your computer.
Doing some work on my computer.
Describe your wedding. I'm never getting married. It's just me and my partner. I wish we had an answer where it was us and a Vin Diesel standee.
Yes. Yes.
I'm never getting married. It's just me and my partner. It's us and our families. It's a backyard country affair. Everyone I know is there. I don't remember.
I think ours was closer to everyone I know is there,
Including Vin.
including
yeah,
Vin.
I was gonna say you at least had to go. It's just us and our families. If Vin was there, like not knowing what the guest list looked like.
There was, I think there was a coffee shop. I think it was a coffee shop in Toronto that was it Keanu or was it Nicolas Cage? It was one of the actors. I think it was Keanu. When they had a movie that was going to show at TIFF, they had put up a standee in their coffee shop for months. And they were like, please come visit. And when whichever one it was went to the city, they made it to the coffee shop and they were just like, you manifested it. So I think, if Vin finds out.
Listen, I wanted Gritty at my wedding too. And then my husband said, I thought of the perfect gift for you that I couldn't make happen, which is that Gritty comes to the wedding. And then Gritty takes off his head and it's Vin Diesel under there.
Oh my God.
He said it to me and I started crying. I was like,
this is the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
What was the Vin dress? Was it Vin as Dom or what was this? Because I'm sure there's a bunch of different Vin standees, cardboard cutouts. So what was he dressed as?
I ordered it off a website that had celebrities already, and the look that he was in was all white. He was in like his white tank top and then like a white leather jacket, like sort of a moto bicycle jacket and white leather pants.
It was probably the Miami premiere, Joey, to be honest, because wasn't that exactly what he was wearing at the Miami trailer premiere for 9?
I just like that Chrissy let someone else wear white to her wedding.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Chrissy, congratulations. You just won the lottery. What are you buying? Also, Joe, I have no idea what he wore to any premiere. I mean, he probably wears white every single goddamn day.
That's probably true. Yeah, he probably could, yeah.
My favorite video of him is the You Know I Love Music, where he's dancing to Katy Perry and Beyonce, and he's in the white tank top there. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Even out of character, he's in character.
My favorite video of him is the karaoke stay.
Oh.
Yes.
Makes me cry. Literally makes me cry.
Chrissy, congratulations. You just won the lottery. What are you buying? Your own garage, a private plane, I'm gambling it all away, my child at home, a fleet of cars, or a new life.
What do you mean I'm buying my child at home?
Like, you know, if your
childhood home. Childhood home.
Oh,
not buying your child
home.
at home. Yes.
Got it. So what was after childhood home? Because I got derailed.
A fleet of cars or a new life.
I think I do a fleet of cars.
Cool.
That sounds cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
All right. The final question to determine it all. What is your drink of choice? Belgian ale, Corona, something fruity, water, whatever's cheapest, or Joe's going to the bar. Just give me one of whatever you're having.
Ooh, I don't trust that at all.
Especially, I've learned, and he warns me, but I've learned don't get what Joe orders because bartenders make it special for him because they know that he is an alcoholic.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Like because his wife used to manage a restaurant, a bar, and they literally brought out like a mini carafe of Jack Daniels, and I poured it all in the drink, and he's like, "What did you do? Don't do that." I was like, "How am I supposed to know? I've never been given this option before."
Yeah.
So I every sip I took, I refill with Coke because I had to like dilute the alcohol. I got through it, but it was a nightmare.
Wow. I think I might say Belgian ale.
Okay,
That works.
Yeah.
Can I take a guess?
Mm-hmm.
So
Tej.
nervous.
I'm going Tej.
She was Tej until the last answer, and then usurped ever so barely, ever so slightly. So in third place, Jessie from the first movie.
Okay.
Oh, love.
Second place, Tej.
Love.
Yeah.
But the Belgian ale secured it. Chrissy, you are Mr. Nobody.
That rules.
People
That
see you
rules.
as a bit of a mystery, and you love it. You've got more going on than anyone realizes, but your greatest joy comes from executing a plan perfectly and leaving everyone around you wondering how you pulled it off. You're great at keeping secrets, but you're always willing to help those who help you. You don't have family, so to speak, because letting people too close might dissipate some of your mystical aura, so you'll settle for friends. And you drive like the wind blows.
Mr. Nobody's a good one.
A lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of that did describe me, and that rules.
There you go.
I love
Mr.
that.
Nobody.
They're kind of creepy in that way, aren't they?
It's a little horoscopy, but like when we've had like friends of mine on here, I'm like,
You're like,
oh,
yeah,
no,
that kind of fucking works.
I know that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joe and I spent a lot of time like allotting points. There's a whole complicated system, but you are Mr. Nobody.
If you saw the back end of what this fucker looks like,
Did you come up with this quiz?
Yeah, we found a quiz online that had like 6 answers, and we're like, this sucks. But every answer ended with "you drive like the wind blows," which we loved, so we kept that.
yeah.
But other than that, no.
We made it. There's like a very intense scoring system that goes on based on the character and the weight of the answer.
And at some point, either like we've added 5 more characters that we're either going to do now, or we might wait for the other movies or something. But like, yeah, no, we made this is our baby.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so, which characters did y'all get when you took the quiz?
I am Mia, and Joe is Dom.
Wow,
So we're both
you're
Torettos.
a family.
Mm-hmm.
We are family, and it makes so much sense, I think.
A lot of
that's
people
beautiful.
get Letty and Ramsey. Like a lot of people who are on podcasts are kind of like nerdy computer loners to a certain extent anyway. And so there are a lot of like we get a lot of Tej and we get a lot of Ramsey and a lot of Jet, like just people who like, computers and whatever. But
Circuits.
Mr. Nobody's a good one.
Yeah,
Nobody's
Mr.
a
Nobody's
one.
really good.
That's so cool.
The final thing to do before we say goodbye is we have to play This Ain't No 10-Second Race, aka Boy Do We Have a Podcast for You.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
So this is where we go on x.com, aka the X app. Before we do this episode's tweets, let's review last time. We played with Lisa on our Fast 5 episode. So I found... Joe, it happened again.
What?
I don't know what the tweet was, but whoever I responded to deleted their account.
Deleted their account. Didn't just block you.
Didn't block us. Well, actually, hold on. That's a good question. Did they block us? No, I think they deleted the account. Taskmaster717 no longer exists. There's a scoring system here too, Chrissy. It's very hard to win, very hard to get points. But we've had a remarkable success at not getting blocked. That would seem normal. But people just straight up leaving Twitter.
Or getting banned from Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all are replying to a lot of provocateurs. Those who are getting
We
banned.
didn't think so at the time.
We didn't think so.
It's not like we're like, because there was a dark age where Fast and Furious was being co-opted
by the right wing.
By the right way.
I did when I was searching today for some tweets for this game, which I don't think I did right, but because I didn't know. But I Googled, or not Googled, but I searched in X for Fast and Furious, and then I was like, So I searched for Fast and Furious theory because I was just like interested in people's theories, and I
you found that.
upon...
You found that dark hole that we were in for like 6, 8 months, 12 months or something.
Yeah, that the Clintons killed Paul Walker.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful.
Yes.
I I was looking today for Fast and Furious Gisele, Fast and Furious Gal Gadot, and like it didn't come up. I think also she was on Hot Ones recently. I think she pronounces it Gal Gadot, which is a third pronunciation.
Gadot.
Okay.
I will say, if you want to see her spit a lot, watch that Hot Ones. Like the way she reacts to heat is that she like drools and spits. It's very weird.
I don't need to see that.
It's not like sexy. It's just she just like drool. It's very like I've watched a bunch of that show, and I've never seen someone drool the way she drooled. It was anyway. Joe, you found Caitlin at Faux Show. It's Caitlin. In case there was any doubt, I was definitely the biggest Fast and Furious fan of the theater. #family, #Vin Diesel is my BFF. And Caitlin posted a picture of her shirt that said Fast and Furious. It was a bunch of different characters and racing stripes and checkered flag and everything. And we said, sweet shirt. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nope.
Nothing. Okay.
And Lisa found the Frog Man at the Frog Feed. Fast 5 has a quarter-mile cop car drag race that takes 1 minute and 2 seconds to complete, making their average speed roughly 14.5 miles per hour. It's also the film where Vin Diesel isn't sure if Brazil is a Z or an S, so he pronounces it with both. And we said, if these are the things you're thinking about while watching the movie, boy, do we have a podcast for you. And Nick Nip, our listener, liked it and reposted it, but the Frogman did not. So swing and a miss, 0 for 3.
Hop along.
Wait, so sorry, what is this game? Is that you find tweets and then you as the podcast responds, and then it's like fingers crossed.
Do they reinteract
to you?
So if they like it, we get a point.
If the original poster or like their network, not ours.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they repost it, formally retweet, we get 2 points. If they reply, we get 5. If they email in, we get 10. And if they're on the show, we get like 25 or 50. And someone 2 months ago said, I would love to be on your show. And she was like a journalist or something. And we're like, that's big points for us. Because overwhelmingly, nothing comes of this.
Everybody usually ignores us, blocks us, or gets their account
deleted. Which is
deleted.
so weird because we are seeking out people who are like, I love these things more than anything in my life. Here's a weird theory. We're like, we just talked about this for an hour, and they're like, can't even like it. Can't even hit a little heart.
So how many points are you at right now?
So we've been doing this show for almost 6 years now. We've probably played this game about 100 times. I have 65 and Joe has 79.
Okay.
I heard the scoring system.
But like,
okay.
But that's like 15 or 20 twice each, and then a lot of ones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Joe, you sent me the
It's
tweet.
very hard.
You want to hit us with your, please? Thank you.
I went to Ray at RAAYVENNNNN. You'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
Fast X was beautiful. Like, wow. If you know me, then you know I am a big Fast and Furious fan.
Chrissy, this is what Joe does. He searches big Fast and Furious fan and responds. And it worked like 2 or 3 times in a row, and then it's been like 0 for 5 since. But he's just trying to recapture that glory. So I liked and retweeted it. What do you want to say to Raven?
We are also really big Fast and the Furious fans. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Or like, wait, can we ask yourself? Like, let me try a question.
Already
this
sent
time.
it.
Fuck.
I'll delete it. I'll fix it.
I was gonna be like, what's your favorite part of Fast and the Furious? To like try to lure her into a response, but they just give her something else to ignore.
Engagement. No, I think that's a good.
I'm
tactic.
trying. I'm trying today. Like, what's your favorite one, or like, what's your favorite part of the like
right,
something?
I sent it. We'll see.
Thank you,
Chrissy. What did you find? Ooh, no, Chrissy, you played this game perfectly.
Okay.
What is yours? Okay.
I found something that I don't subscribe to, this theory that I'm about to read, but this is from @EvilLiz, @evil_Liz. My theory for how the Fast and Furious movies end. This guy survived the first one and is behind everything. And it is Jesse, right? That's Jesse. Okay.
It's a picture of Jesse. That he's the mastermind.
That's what I thought, but I just got
fucking everyone's day up.
I got so scared I remembered his face wrong. I don't believe that because, as I said, I believe that he's a true death. But I love the ingenuity of this theory. I love people thinking outside of the box. Good things.
So how do you want us to respond? Do you want to just say we love the ingenuity of this theory? Boy, do a podcast for you.
Or you
Okay.
could write it. You could write it however you want.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how would if I tweeted this and what did you want to say? We
Well,
love
we
this
end everyone
theory.
with, boy, do we have a podcast for you. But yeah, you said something like, I don't subscribe to this, but I love the ingenuity. I love thinking outside the
So
box.
we said
I
we love the ingenuity of this theory.
I love the way your brain works. And then can it be girl? Do we have a podcast for you?
Of course.
Just to change the form a little bit.
Yeah, I like it.
Girl,
I like
do we
it.
have a podcast for you?
We have thought for a while that like putting a gendered pronoun or whatever, I don't know, boy, I guess just a noun in there, has probably scared a lot of people off, or made people be like, what? Made us feel like a
But
bot.
we mean it as like, boy, do we like not.
No,
But girl,
I
do we
know.
have a podcast? I like it. We're good.
Yeah.
I'm also using girl, do we have a podcast for you? And like a girl, do we have a podcast for you? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
It
not
doesn't
gendering
fucking
this for
matter.
plot.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Are
I'm
we
not
going to
gendering.
enter our GD WAP era?
I kind of like it. If Chrissy hits
Girl?
here, we might have to just go. Girl, do we have a
Girl?
Yeah, we might have to. I think it's less threatening in a way, right?
I don't
Is
know.
it more
I think
threatening? If it's
depends
us,
on,
it's
it
more
depends on who
threatening.
we're responding to, because I think there's a
And
lot.
if it's
I mean,
just us, it's
Mhm.
definitely more threatening. But if we do if Chrissy does do Girl, do we have a podcast for you, then I think it's like very approachable and fun.
Yeah, but if you're responding to someone like Chrissy Teigen, who I know is constantly tweeting
Wait,
about
do you know
Fast and
that
Furious.
do you know she's in Tokyo Drift?
Shut up. Is she?
No, she is. Yeah.
She is. I don't. Is she credited as like
Pink,
boobs
it's
getting out of
pink.
car? Pink
Yeah, it's like
boobs?
pink tank top. Like she's like, yeah. Like near the end, she like gets out of a car and you only see her like pink tank top, and she's like, "Yep, that was me."
Wow.
She tweeted like 5 years ago. I just remembered that I spent a day in a parking garage in LA like 10 or 20 years ago or whatever.
As
Shooting
an
Tokyo
extra in
Drift.
yeah.
This is what I was wearing. Can anyone like confirm this? And like,
and it was
within
like boop.
3 minutes, a guy like had like multiple screenshots, and she's like, "Thank you so much, but I'm also a little concerned by how quickly you had this available to you." She is credited as girl in parking garage.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so crazy that I said that. Because
Yeah.
I really was just thinking of like what celebrity who uses
Would say
Twitter a lot
girl.
would
Yeah.
be really turned off by hearing "Girl, do we have a podcast for you?" And I was like, probably Chrissy Teigen, maybe.
Hold on, I'm gonna put in the chat here just so you see, because like it's like very, it's just, it's her, and this is like the extent to which.
I mean, that rules. I would love to be an
Did that
extra
not come through as
in
a
these movies.
picture? I mean, you can download whatever, but
I'm
that's
having to
or you can
download
just-
it. Let's see. Oh, okay. Great.
But like, but
So
that's,
you don't even see your face.
No, you don't see her face. That's
at
why
the-
nobody
it's at
knew
the-
it was her until she said it. Yeah.
It's at the very end of the movie where Dom rolls up and he, challenges Sean. Yeah, she just like it's very kind of like Michael Bay, like she like low angle gets out of the car sort of in slow motion, just like showing off her boobs, but you don't see her face. Perfect girl,
Wow.
as we know. Perfect girl.
Yeah. One with no face. Yeah.
Perfect girl.
Only boobs. No memories.
girl.
Perfect girl.
Oh, and Chris, you played the game right. You've already liked the reply that we
That's
sent
right.
as you, which means that I get another notification. Okay, so I'm playing one for charity, and I'm playing one for myself. So when we play for charity, nobody
Okay.
gets the points.
Okay.
But I found this one first, and I was like, this is pretty good. Then I found a better one. So the one I'm playing for charity is from Dati, D-A-T-I.
Sometimes if
Sunflower.
you find two good tweets, I see the look on your face, Chrissy. Sometimes if we find like a good tweet, we just play that one for charity because like ultimately we're trying to get people to like
to watch the game,
listen.
to listen to the show.
And does a financial compensation go to a charity of your choosing?
No, but we do turbos for tots every December where
Christmas.
we buy
Okay,
Fast
great.
and Furious toys and give them to an underprivileged
We can-
community in.
I mean,
in
I'm not
Connecticut.
giving them the points.
Yeah, they don't get points, but we do give toys to charity.
Listen, you use the
I
phrase
can't
"I'm
put the
doing this
toy-
for charity" really like willy nilly, and it made it seem like there was some sort of good coming out of this.
Eventually, yes, but it's not
Great.
the points that you get from this game.
Great.
So Dottie at XOXTBZ said, I just finished my Fast and Furious marathon, and Fast X really finished on a cliffhanger, grr. But when Han sees Gisele alive, it's going to be so crying emoji.
Yes.
I'm going to say we're not ready for it. We're not emotionally ready for it. Girl, do we have a podcast for you?
I think that's
You're
good.
just riding that Chrissy wave here. That's unfair.
Girl.
I didn't know that this was an option.
Anything is an option.
Is Chrissy
try
Teigen the
hard
most
enough.
famous Chrissy, and are you the second most famous Chrissy?
This has been the fight of my life.
Is it really?
No, it's something I love about my name. Something I hate about my name. I'll say a thing that I hate about my name is that it is a child's name, and I have a really hard time picturing myself as like a 75-year-old woman that people are calling Chrissy. Like it
I'm
sounds
stuck
so
as Joey
juvenile.
forever. I completely understand where you're coming from.
The thing that I sort of love about my name is that it's not like a unique name by any means, but you don't hear it often.
Mhm.
Like I haven't met a lot of Chrissys in my life. And famous Chrissys are Chrissy Teigen, Chris Evert, who was a tennis player, who was kind of I was named not after, but like my mom saw that tennis player on TV and was like, oh, I kind of like the name Chrissy. Chris, because I guess they used to call that tennis player Chrissy.
Mhm.
I don't know. There was a
I
character
wrote a
in that
paper
thing.
about her in 5th grade, so I know all about Chrissy Everett.
Oh, hell yeah.
Mhm.
There was a character in That Thing You Do, the girl in the polka dot dress who sees them at Villapiano's. That's like one of my favorite movies, so I know it a little too well. Her name's Chrissy Tompkins. They say like, Chrissy Tompkins?
Side note on that, have you seen the director's cut of That Thing You Do?
Awful.
Where there's like 40 extra minutes of Charlize Theron?
Like Tom Hanks should be I know he was the director, so he's probably in the edit room as well. He should be thanking his editor for the rest of his life because that director's cut is god awful.
There is the nice little wrinkle. Joe, you might not even know this, but in the director's cut of that movie, it's revealed that Tom Hanks, who has a small part in the movie, is in a gay relationship with Howie Long, former NFL star Howie Long.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Like he picks him up for a date or something. We're just like,
oh, very cool.
so that was left on the cutting room floor, but I was just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But there's a lot more Charlize hanging out with a dentist, like putting up wallpaper and stuff. It's just like, all right.
It had the best thing about That Thing You Do is its pacing and its momentum, and that it like, you know, mimics that feeling of if you were in a one-hit wonder band, like you're going on it with them and it just is moving so fast. And this kills everything about that. It's so, there's so many superfluous scenes. The pacing is off. They don't hear themselves on the radio until like 50 minutes into the movie.
And that is
it's
like
crazy.
That's maybe the best scene in any movie ever.
Yes. Those are really the only Chrissys I know. So yeah, I don't know. Chrissy Teigen's definitely the most famous Chrissy, for
You're
sure.
probably up there. I mean, people have seen your name a lot, I'm sure.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
In a list with like 11 other writers. I don't know
Hey.
how many people are looking at that.
The 12 Disciples.
Except for my mom.
I'm gonna look next time I watch. I'm gonna look.
I am.
Thanks.
Here's the tweet that I'm playing not for charity, playing selfishly for me, from Kevin Wozniak at KevFlix. In the Fast and Furious franchise, they brought this is actually very similar to Chrissy's in a way. They brought back Letty, Han, Gisele, and a slew of other characters. But when are they going to bring back Leon? And just a picture of Leon from the first movie.
It's a very similar tweet. You're right.
We ask this all the time. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Amen. Leon's just in jail, dude. That's exactly where he is. He's just like in like a low security, just jail, not prison.
You know who I'd like to see, actually, to answer a question from 3 hours ago?
What?
Hector. I know he comes back in 7 for a quick moment, but I'd like to see him again.
He comes back, Letty punches him in the face, and he leaves.
Yeah. Great scene.
What do you think of the name Race Wars?
Bad. Bad. Very bad. I can't believe they got that through, even in 2001. Like, that's not like it's a different time. Of course they called it Race Wars. They didn't know. It's like they knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they brought it back.
They doubled
They
down
doubled
on
down.
In 2015.
Reinvented Race Wars. And what's bad is that in the first movie, it is quite segregated by race.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually a race wars. Like the crews are often segregated by race. It's really alarming. I really can't believe they got away with it.
They're kind of like in different pairings that would,
be at war with one another.
Yeah.
Chrissy, thank you so much for joining us. This was a delight.
You were a fucking delight. You were great, Chrissy.
I had a great time.
What would you like to plug? What can people learn about you? Where do you want people to find you? What do you want people to know about you?
Yeah, this is a great question. I am currently a striking writer. So
sorry,
we support the strike.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I support the strike as well. I do wish the studios would figure their S out and end it, but
you said handies and blowies before. Now you're just going to call it S?
Inside her.
I simply won't say the S word.
The one line I will not cross.
So typically when I'm not on strike, you can watch new episodes of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, even though that doesn't need my plug. You can find me on X at Chrissy SH.
Sweet.
I'm not super active on it.
In this house, we call it Twitter. Chrissy.
Good. And then you can follow me on Instagram at my name, which is Chrissy Shackelford, but I don't really post about like content there. It's mostly just my family and friends, but you can see that if you want. And then last thing I guess I should plug, I made a web series like 2 years ago called Ghost Written. You can find that at www.ghostwrittenseries.com. It's only 3 episodes. But if you are craving content that's not studio backed in any way, that was made on a little shoestring budget, and you can watch that.
Sweet.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I will definitely check that. I saw that when I was researching you. Researching you was a very strong term for what I did. I Googled you and I was like, right, this is who this person is. And I was like, oh, this looks good. So I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, have a time. Have a time with it. Good or bad, depending on your subjective taste.
I'll have a good time. If this... I will watch that if you watch Rad, which a movie I had nothing to do with.
It's the easiest
and I have no financial stake in. But I want you to watch Rad, and I will watch the thing that you
made that sound
time.
like you really own like the rights to Rad with that.
Yeah,
one.
you're getting residuals from Rad.
Yeah, he's like, I don't own anything about it.
Talia Shire owns the rights to Rad.
It's free on Canopy.
Yeah, the library streaming service. If you have a library card, Canopy with a K, Kanopy.
Yeah. So you don't even need to rent it or pay for it.
Joe, our next episode is for real this time. RRR. They're excited to watch that. And then we're going to do another
saga.
Actually, one other note that I had about this. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to do Minute. And then we're going to do Tokyo Drift. And this is the first time I ever really thought about, like, at the end of this movie, Han's like, there's something I got to do. He goes to Tokyo. We follow Han to Tokyo. Like, I know we do this for, like, the chronological, but, like, I've never thought about us literally following his footsteps as we follow him to Tokyo. So
we do. We definitely do.
Very, very exciting. Joe, any other final thoughts before we end the episode?
This was the greatest day ever.
100 to 1.
100 to 1.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on X and Instagram and YouTube. Email
Twitter.
us, family@cageclub. I'm not plugging Threads anymore. I'm going to call it X because I think it's funny.
Okay.
Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFastTooForever.com and our store at cageclub.me/shop. And come back next week for RRR. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And that was Chrissy Shackelford. And we will tell you all about it
when we see you again.